Did you ever think you would make it? I feel I'm so close I could taste sweet victory. I know this life meant for me.
Adam, what's your point? The future looks bright.
My handshake is better than anything I ever saw. It's right here.
You are a one-of-one?
My son's right about
I don't think I've ever said this before.
All right, so every once in a while, you have somebody on the show that is actually the best at what they do. And by the way, you know how sometimes people compliment you privately and then you're like, this guy's full of shit. Will he ever say it publicly? So I'm saying this publicly. My number one go-to guy that I trust who brings America together, who is the best moderator for any presidential debates we host, is our guest today, Bret Baier. It's great to have you on the podcast.
Thanks for having me. Yeah, it's good to be here.
It's great to have you. In a different lifetime, I would have been your agent. We would have done very good together.
You know how many calls I got after that? After we had that exchange, I got about 7 calls.
Oh,
Is
that's
Patrick
great.
your agent?
We had a great conversation at the American Business Forum in Miami. It was great. Yeah, it was phenomenal. We had a good time. But we got a lot of stories to go through. And folks, the one thing I will tell you is I'm about supporting anybody that makes the country a better place. He just came out with a book. I'm going to get into it right off the bat. The book is called The Case for America. Even before we get the show started, do me a favor, go to Amazon, click on a link below, go order the book, The Case for America, an argument on behalf of our nation by the #1 New York Times bestselling author, Bret Baier. So having said that, let's get right into it. Stories. So yesterday, the president, as usual, he says, look, if this doesn't work out, it's on JD. It's not my fault. You screwed this up, right? And then JD comes out and calls out Israel and says, your #1 ally, your only ally that you have in the world is U.S. And here's how my suggestion for you would be to not do this and not do that. Obviously, JD's got a book that's came out, and he's out there, giving his argument on where he's at, what positions he's got, especially as a person that everybody talks about. He's the non-interventionist. So for the non-interventionist to support this, who does this make look good? And they're kind of, this is very good to see Trump and JD actually fairly close. Typically, the main guy that gets all the highlight is Rubio, even though he's not the VP. It's a very interesting last week. We'll talk about that. We'll talk about the deal. We'll talk about Social Security. It's a mess. They're saying 2032, it's going to be done. And we've been reading this. I've been in the finance space since day before 9/11. You would always hear, look at your Social Security statement. They tell you by 2032, the fund will be depleted. And well, that's around the corner, 6 years away, so we'll talk about that. There's this guy who was a president who in Chicago, he built a very expensive building.
Beautiful.
And a lot of people haven't gotten paid yet, and they're not happy about it. And there was a massive ceremony with everybody being there, and there was an interview being done where she asked them, Michelle and Barack, and she asked, so give me one word, Vinny, for the rest of your life. What is the one word? And Barack says fun.
Yeah.
And she says me.
Me.
And then the host, what's her name? She's a very well-known, very, very well-known. She had cancer. She came back. She's phenomenal. She's a professional. And she says, what a mic drop when Michelle Obama said me, which I don't know why me today is a mic drop, but she gave we'll talk about all the who's were there. I think the President Biden's handler was lost. So at the end, there was a moment where he couldn't find himself. Why you guys do this to him? Like, sometimes I wonder, like, does Jill privately, like, do they go home with the grandkids and sit there and laugh at Grandpa and say, look at Grandpa, he's lost, look at Grandpa? You don't do stuff like that, Jill. We know you love him, but go grab his hand and walk out. One day we're all going to be that age, and we need somebody to kind of walk us around. And some of us experienced that earlier at different kind of events, UFCs, different thing you go through. Some people experience it later on in life, but it is what it is. Okay?
Inside joke.
That's a big-time inside joke.
Yeah,
yes.
okay.
Next story. Rogan says there was a couple presidents that contacted Spotify to have the show canceled. So we're going to play this game. Who the couple presidents are. Obviously, most of them are dead, so we're not dealing with like 78 of them. You only got a handful of them. It's not a hard game. But we're going to kind of speculate and see who those presidents are. We know one of them, who it wasn't, which is Trump. Who the other guys are, we'll address it. And then an article came out talking about that people are reading a third less than they did 10 years ago, half because they don't have time, the other half because they have a lot of distractions. And I broke down the numbers, and yesterday there was an interview with Elon, somebody that maybe this was an older clip that I saw, where the lady asks him, what is the worst invention of our lifetime? And he said, what do you call it? Doom scrolling. Doom scrolling, where you just kind of go through watching the short form. He says short form may be one of the worst things for us because it's brain rotting. And then I went and pulled up the data to see how much short form we consume per year, and then did some math. We'll talk about that. I think it's worth for parents to kind of talk with their kids about it. There's a report that came out. I don't know if you went through this yet or not. The Rape Gang Inquiry Report, which it's disturbing. When you go through the report, Connor went through the whole report. He pretty much read the whole thing.
This is the UK, right?
This is the UK report with the Pakistani, 85% of the rapes being done by Pakistani men, and how they control these girls. And they say, if we call you, you don't pick up and show up to do a favor for any of our guys, we will record all the videos that we have and show it to your family, give it to the public. The system is a and there was even one part of the report that says, you're lucky we're teaching you our culture. You are lucky. What do you mean you're lucky we're teaching you? That's the culture you want to teach? So we'll talk about that as, as parents. You know how devastating that is and tragic that is when folks go through that. And then last but not least, Fox is leading the 250-year celebration that is taking place, which is exciting. I want to hear about that. I know, Bret's going to be in the middle of all of it. So having said that, before we get started with the podcast, we got the World Cup, folks, okay? Yesterday, Canada won 6-0. I'm watching this game. Honestly, Qatar made Canada look like every player was Ronaldinho, Ronaldo, Messi.
Oh, really?
They made Canadian soccer players look like the greatest soccer players of all time. U.S. is playing today, FYI. This hat with the U.S. flag, Connor, if you want to go to it on vtmerch.com, sickest hat, future looks bright, red, white, and blue with the American flag right here. Hot item that we have, go to vtmerch.com to place the order on the hat. And then for Iran, the Iran hat, which makes it very cool and controversial, the flag that is here is the OG flag from back in the days from Shahanshah Mohammad Reza Shah Pahlavi.
The good flag.
The man that rocked Iran for many years and made it free for women, made a lot of things great in Iran. Go to vtmerch.com to place the order. And when you go there, what's the collection that we have there? There's got to be which one's the collection. Just go to the FLB hat collection, and then you'll see Nations collection. I love it. Okay, fantastic. So that's that. And aside from that, to all the fathers, I'm in the middle of a fatherhood book that I'm writing that's probably going to come out in the next year to 3 years. I'm working on 3 books. This is one of them that I'm working out. But on July 1st, we're hosting a webinar specifically for fathers. And this is I would say it's all the mistakes and everything that I've seen myself, the great fathers of my life do. We're going to talk about this on the webinar July 1st. I want you to watch this video and go register and put it on your calendar. Go ahead, Connor.
Question for you. When are you the happiest? Is it when you're watching a game? Is it when you're hanging out with your friends? Or is it when your kids are around you? I can tell you, I've traveled the world. I've made a lot of money. But I'm the happiest when my kids are sitting around me, we're having dinner, we're talking, I enjoy it so much. It's a very important job that you and I have. There's 5 different types of fathers. The absent father, the friend father, the dictator father, the provider father, and the builder father. So no matter which one you're watching this, I don't want you to feel bad. If you're saying, man, I kind of feel bad. I'm the absent father. I'm only the provider. I'm always trying to win my kids over with money. No matter what it is, every one of us wants to become better as a father. If you're watching and saying, Pat, I want to improve in this area, I do as well. I'm going to share with you what's worked for me and what mistakes I've made on July 1st, 6 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. I'm doing a free webinar specifically to talk about the 5 different types of fathers and how you and I can become better at it. So go to vtwebinar.com, register again, go to vtwebinar.com. Ladies, you may also want to get there and get your husbands on it, but we're going to have a good time on that podcast. Again, July 1st, 6 p.m., free webinar. Go to vtwebinar.com to register for it. With that being said, let's get right into it. What story should we go into first? Should we start off with Tulsi Gabbard? This is Tulsi Gabbard's final Fauci video. She posted one, went viral. I don't know how many views it got, 50 million, 100 million views. Everybody pretty much retweeted it. We heard about her resigning. We heard about her husband going through, health issues that was publicly discussed. And then all of a sudden, this last video comes out. It's like her farewell of delivering what many people wanted in 2024. They wanted to find out what really happened with Fauci. And here's what Tulsi had to say. Go for it.
Before the COVID pandemic, Dr. Fauci, as head of the National Institute of Allergy and Infectious Diseases, provided millions in U.S. taxpayer dollars to fund dangerous gain-of-function research on bat coronaviruses at the Wuhan Institute of Virology. work which is now widely viewed as the source of the unintentional lab leak that sparked the pandemic. Now, in support of President Trump's maximum transparency mandate, today, on my final day as Director of National Intelligence, I'm releasing never-before-seen communications and documents that expose exactly how Fauci worked with politicized career leadership in the intelligence community to suppress the truth about his actions, the virus's lab leak origins, and his role in directing U.S. funding for this dangerous research that caused immeasurable harm and countless lost lives. Now, these documents expose Fauci's direct role in influencing and manipulating IC assessments on COVID-19 and how Fauci lied to Congress in 2024 when, under oath, he denied knowledge of or participation in discussions with intelligence officials about viral research. We also received testimony from multiple intelligence community whistleblowers who reported retaliation for challenging the intelligence community's manipulation of intelligence on the virus's origins.
You can put that on a pause.
Once
Obviously,
again, revealing
this goes
a
on
clear
for a few
pattern
minutes if you
of
want to pause it. Bret, one, why is this so important? And two, will there be redemption for some of the families that went through it who directly were impacted by some of his policies?
I think this is a huge deal. Back in that time, we did one of the first stories about the Wuhan lab as possibly being the center of this, and were lambasted as conspiracy theorists and out there, and said, all of the administration officials came out and said, don't listen to this. Later, we found emails after FOIA requests where Fauci and Collins, Francis Collins, were trying to counter our stories about the Wuhan lab. This is a huge deal. If you think about it, Fauci was pardoned in the last day of the Biden administration. And now there are reports about how he really was pushing for that. And once he got word that it was going to happen, he signed it right away, was obviously very concerned about it. I think this is really big. If you think about back to COVID, how much a mistake it was for the country as a health policy overall, the total shutdown. There are families that still are impacted by this. Think about all the kids around the country that have one less year because of what they went through.
No question
it's a
about
huge
it.
deal.
I guess the question will be the following. Here's what will be the question for you. Let's do accountability. Go. There's an audience that watches us saying nothing's going to happen. He's going to get away. And so what? He had the pardon. The 5 years came by. The auto pen was not done. So if you can't have the auto pen, that means they can't lift the pardon on him. So what are you going to do to him? You're not going to do nothing. He's going to go away doing his speeches, getting paid $100,000 to $300,000. So worst case, nothing happens, right? What's best case for accountability with him?
Well, I mean, I think that the administration is going to look at that auto pen and challenge it legally to see if it
can. They?
I mean, I think they can. I don't know if it's going to be successful. And the best case on accountability is that we never do this again. But I think that you're right.
Think the best case is just we never do it again. But there's not like he's out there having to answer all these questions and getting charged with something. The likelihood of that happening is slim. Okay.
It's very slim.
So, Tom, a question for you with this. What role does Supreme Court play here? Because I guess my question would be, you know how many times, I was for tariffs. I wanted tariffs. When he said tariffs is my favorite word in the dictionary, I guess I would put love ahead or God or, that whole thing that he did.
I was right there with you.
Yeah,
I said that they were tactics, not taxes.
Yeah, I like tariffs because we only get $80 billion a year in tariffs in revenue pre-president announcing it, and then we spiked up to $300 billion, and then all of a sudden Supreme Court is 6-3 conservative. They went against them. So these are people that he put in, and they went against them, which is the power is in the Supreme Court. What role does the Supreme Court play with this, or they have nothing to do with something like this?
Well, someone would have to bring a cause forward for the unprecedented action of saying that the auto pen was used and Biden didn't actually authorize a particular pardon like Fauci. You would have to have somebody comes and brings a case to the Solicitor General and the Supreme Court wants to hear it. Those are two big jumps. Jump number one, you have to bring a case forward like this. You have to be able to prove that Biden never pardoned Fauci of his will, but there was a signature that on a piece of paper, the pardon came out. And then the Supreme Court would have to take the unprecedented step of overriding a presidential pardon. And I think those, Evel Knievel never made it across the Grand Canyon back in the 70s, if you know the history of that guy. Tried to jump it, ended up trying to jump the Snake River Canyon, never got across that. I think this is a canyon jump that no one's going to get across on this, number one. The second path, that's path one that's got two sides of it, auto pen and Supreme Court overriding pardon. The other path is, do you have a state that brings an action somehow against Fauci or any of the people that worked with him? Because the federal pardon covers these offenses, and it would have to be a state action that comes forward.
Which is more possible. More possible. I mean, like even in Florida, think about all of the COVID things that the government in Florida has
DeSantis
done.
would be the guy to do it.
DeSantis would be the guy that would do it.
He would be the guy to do it. And by the way, if he does, imagine this. So what is our impression of DeSantis' aspirations of running for president in 2020? If you were a betting man, where do you put it? 50-50, 80-20? I think he's running for 2028.
Maybe.
Okay, so let's just say he's running for 2028. Can you imagine if he does this and he's able to make some progress, how many people's support he gets for a guy that actually gets things done? And remember, this is free agency election 2028. There is no guy that's coming back on Rice signing another 4-year contract. If you look at sports, Trump, nobody like that exists. It's wide open for anybody. I think it could be a big. Can another country do anything about it? Can somebody else come? Can another country come out and say, hey, some of the things you did negatively impacted us?
I suppose, but those things, it's like, where do you go? What's the court of jurisdiction on that?
Because they could say, we don't go by the laws you go by.
Correct.
You impacted our country as well.
I'll give you an example. Bibi Netanyahu, Adam, help me out here, had two countries that actually filed war crimes allegations or international indictments, if you call it that. That's probably what you call it. And Bibi was just like, well, I guess I'm never going to Turkey or wherever it was, right? But nothing ever happens.
Same with Putin as well.
No one's going to come over and
I think it's the ICC. Is that what it is?
Yeah, we don't even really acknowledge the ICC.
Yeah, exactly.
Right. And it's like, no one's going to come extradite you back to wherever.
If the international community did step up, you would go against China, wouldn't you? Because, I mean, they're the place where this thing
So
originated.
in other words, also the likelihood of that happening is slim to none because you don't want China as an enemy. You're going to be afraid of losing somebody like that. Vinny, how important is this issue to you?
I'm first of all, I think it's one of the biggest ones, and I'm just shocked that Americans on any side, Republican, Independent, Democrat, whatever, aren't as furious at this. Should be the number one anger issue, Brett, and it drives me crazy that for illegals that are here in the country, raping and doing everything, stealing Minnesota, people are willing to go on the street and fight and try to run over people and get shot. But for something like this, especially for a Fauci, this isn't lowball. This is the director of national intelligence saying, on my last day, I have to let you guys know this. So think about it, Pat. This is the biggest case of problem, reaction, solution. Fauci, they paid for this Wuhan thing. Then when it came out, they said, no, it didn't happen. It didn't come from there, and lied. Then lied about social distancing, scared everybody. Put on a mask. Don't put on a mask. And then you push an experimental vaccine that is literally, Pat, how many years we saw soccer players running and just dropping dead, and people were like, why is this happening? NBA players, football players,
Monday Night Football, and then he would an interview and wouldn't talk about what his doctors told him.
Because he was told, because he's probably told from your agents, don't say anything. The fact that this isn't the number one, guys, please, and I'm not saying go. Somebody online was like, "Oh, you're saying go after Fauci." No, I'm not saying do anything like that. God's gonna give him what he has coming to him. But Pat, this should be the number one story. Tom, how long were you in the hospital?
17 days.
17 days. Like this hits home.
How long were you in? Not just hospital. How long were you in?
5 days in ICU.
5 days in ICU, and I'll never forget the day Kim called me. I was at Louis Bossie when Kim called me. We're on the phone for 30 minutes, and she's emotional. We're sitting there worried about what's going to happen to this guy. So this was a real thing that impacted a lot of people's lives. And the part that you think about is how quickly we move on. How quickly is like the next news cycle.
exactly.
Oh, my God, this isn't, boom. Oh,
Next,
wow, World Cup.
next.
You know, you just move on to the next thing, right? And I wonder if there's going to be anything that happens here. Adam, your final thoughts on this?
Yeah, well, Tulsi went out with a bang, didn't she? I mean, if you said, on your list of cards of what you thought Tulsi's last mic drop would be, you would think maybe it has to do with like the war in Iran, maybe something revealing about Trump. But the fact that she's like, hey, by the way, everybody, just so you know, on my last day, Fauci's a liar. I'm out. It was like, oh, I didn't see that one coming. Actually, a friend of mine texted me that day, and what's my first response? Is it real? Is it AI? Did she post it? And that's what you should do. And I'm glad that we verified that. The problem that I have and where it affected our lives, I'm not talking about the actual vaccine, was, do you remember when we were doing when we started the podcast, and obviously it was during COVID in 2020, 2021, we would have these fierce debates on the podcast. And what would YouTube say? Hey, they can't talk about that. Sure. You'd have a little strike right there. And then we would have internal communications. I hope you don't mind. And we'd be like, well, we just got 2 strikes. Like, is this worth losing the channel over? Literally. And ultimately, we're like, we got to tell the truth.
Yeah, just so you know, when you get a strike, YouTube's rules are you can't go live. So when you have a strike, and when you have 2 strikes, I think it's 15 minutes or something like that. Okay. So imagine we are a live show.
Wow.
Yeah.
So you get a strike, you can't go live. You get 2. Can you verify these things that I'm saying, guys, in the back? And you do 2 on 2, you're only limited to 15 minutes. Mm-hmm. So then we had to pre-record and go or wait 2 weeks and not do a podcast. This is during. So, credit to YouTube. They've changed those guidelines. You no longer walk on eggshells. But at the same time, if an AOC or a Newsom or an Ossoff or somebody else gets elected 28, who knows what happens?
And then my final point is, and I'm glad you talked about those details. What's one of our cornerstones here at Valuetainment on PBD Podcast? It is debate. And they disenabled us to actually have this conversation. And then we had, I think, Peter McCulloch on.
Well, one of the first
Robert
debates
Malone.
I hosted was Bobby Kennedy and Dershowitz. Heated debate. If you ever see this debate, it's very weird. I ask one question, and I just sat there, and for 2 hours they fought.
Yeah.
And at the end, I said, well, gentlemen, great question.
That's the best moderating. That's the best moderating.
Said from the best moderator.
That's
right
good.
there.
But, to your point, Pat, we do operate in chapters in America, and we close the chapter, and we move on. And we have this thing on my show called Whatever Happened To, because there are so many stories that are like that. Whatever happened to XYZ? Yeah. Whatever happened to this? This story is a huge whatever happened to. Mm-hmm. And the fact that she's doing this today is a big deal.
And by the way, if you think about with her doing something like this, is she's already reached the pinnacle of what she can do as a non-president VP.
Yes.
Well, head of DNI, what's the next job they're going to offer her? Honestly, what are you going to offer her? She's got plenty of, jobs that the only thing that happens next, she's not done. Tulsi's younger than me. Tulsi's in her late 30s, early. She looks like she's in her mid-30s. I don't know how old she is.
Great.
But I'm going to say late 30s, early 40s, right? This could be a top 5 VP candidate for JD, if you think about it. This could be a top 5 for JD, and we know the relationship with JD, Joe Kent, and Tulsi. There was some relationship there. So there could be some moves she's making to be like, hey, I finished with a bang, and this is her campaign. Because how soon is 2027 coming around the corner?
It's here.
Like this.
Yeah.
So we're there. The game's about to start. Very soon this game changes, and we're going into playoff season.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But you know what bothers me, though, Brett? Like, the system is still set up to where another Fauci and another COVID can happen, and then guess what? That person that does all this madness and all this destruction, pre-pardon, you're a doctor. He didn't even do anything, but they knew what he did. So what's to stop the next one from happening, Pat? It could happen again.
Well, I mean, we'll see. The thing is, I want to get to the next story. At this point of the game, we'll see what's going to happen. Good for Tulsi for doing this. The next thing is the Iran-U.S. deal that took place, which things are moving so much that every time we talk about it, it's like, so they have the deal. Khamenei says, the supreme leader says he authorized the deal. We saw the 14 points, what the 14 points are. We see him signing the contract in English and in Farsi. I didn't know the president speaks and reads Farsi fluently. That's pretty impressive that he's doing that. Is this him signing the deal in Farsi? Go ahead. Go ahead, guys. He's reading Farsi. Look at that. How impressive that is, man. This man is so talented.
His signature is a piece of
You see it's
art.
right to left. You see it's right to left?
Yeah.
So that's impressive that the president took... and this is not even a sponsorship by Duolingo. He just kind of picked it up. He knew it back in the days.
Yeah,
so you have that. Then, while this is going on, the president is doing a press conference. I think Rubio is standing to his left. I want to see who was to his right, and he's being asked about, this is it. Howard's to his right, and he asks about the deal and says, if it doesn't work out, is this the clip? Is this the clip of blaming JD if it doesn't work out? Humberto, is this it? Go for it. Play the clip. Watch this, folks. He's hilarious.
You send the vice president. If it works out, great. You look like a genius for sending him. And if it doesn't work out, it's the vice president's fault.
like that idea, sure. What? Just if it works out, I'm going to take the credit. If it doesn't work out, I'm blaming JD. You better be careful, JD. He's going to turn his plane around and get the hell out of here. Yeah, I like that idea. I think it's a good idea. Thank you very much, everybody. Thank you.
Rubio is stone cold.
Do you think a part of this, Brett, is like, you think it bothers either one of them on who gets the bigger job to solve, or at this point, Rubio is a statesman, he just wants to do what's best for the country?
You know, I think the latter, but I notice his silence over the last few days, and I think it's pretty telling that he hasn't weighed in publicly. And JD's been out on every single show. The vice president's been everywhere, defending this deal. Now, more power to him. He is, defending it, and from the administration point
in a
of view,
very good way, by the way.
In a very good way, like, to the point where you have to give him the benefit of the doubt that maybe the 60-day negotiation works and it goes like they think. But there's so much history, as you know, Pat, that 47 years of the Iranians negotiating in a way that is not in good faith and is always cheating. And it's the biggest criticism is the money. The administration says they're not going to get a red cent. However, they've lifted the oil restrictions, and now oil is flowing. That's money that goes right to the regime. We'll see. You got to give them the time for the negotiation. But the criticism from both sides of the aisle is that this is going to be more of the same. And the Gulf Arab states are really scared that it suddenly empowers this regime that has been heinous.
What do you say to the people who say Iran got the better end of the deal here?
One thing, listen, their Navy was destroyed. The Air Force was destroyed. They were set back, but they still have a ton of missiles. They still have at least how they talk about things. They're talking like they have all the cards. They don't, but they're talking like they do, and the regime is still intact. There's nothing in this deal that prevents them from killing 40,000 Iranians if they go out in the streets and protest. There's nothing in this deal that limits the expansion of their missile program to the point where they go longer, and it's more of a threat to us or Europe. We'll see what this nuclear negotiation over 60 days looks like. I don't think that they're better off, but they're definitely not in the place that we thought they were going to be at the end of this action.
Yeah, it's a very good discussion to have here, and I want to play this clip with what JD had to say with the Iran deal, and then let's go, after this, I'm going to go to the next clip of him calling out Israel, but go for it. Play this clip with JD.
People say that billions of dollars of assets will be released. That's not true. What is true is that Iran will have a much better and much more prosperous future if they meet the obligations they make in this agreement. We'll, of course, see. That's one of the things we're going to work out in the technical talks that will follow the official signing on Friday.
Mr. Vice President, it's Ed O'Keefe, and we're so glad you're here in part because, as Republican Senator Lindsey Graham said yesterday, you are the architect of this deal.
Didn't we already play this clip on
the Iranians
Wednesday?
are saying
on
that they're going to have access to a $300 billion
This is a 3-day clip. I've seen this clip here, but can you go to the clip of JD calling out Israel? We played this clip a couple days ago. Go to this one. This is the one I want to see here. Watch this, folks. Play it from the beginning, please.
I might not be attacking the only powerful ally that I have anywhere left in the entire world.
I will say, I don't know, maybe I've missed this. I don't think Bibi himself has actually criticized the deal because I think he's maybe a little bit more familiar with the details of what's in it.
This is not the clip, guys. But there's a clip of him saying, if I'm you, I think it's the previous one where he was standing there, where he's saying, if I were you, I wouldn't be the only ally you have in the world is U.S., and you're acting like you don't have one. So I'll look for it. I'll text it to you guys. Tom, but this is a shorter version of it. Play. Press play.
If I was in the cabinet of the Israeli government, I might not be attacking the only powerful ally that I have anywhere left in the entire world.
Yeah, It's a short version. There's a little bit more to it. The only ally that I have in the entire world. Tom, where are you at with this?
I am pleased over the last week that the president and the vice president have had very measured but clear statements about where they wanted Israel to line up in this thing. The president was very clear about it and said about, I think maybe it's time to back off a little bit in Lebanon. Do you need to knock down an apartment building to get one guy? There's other people there. And I think those are the kind of measured statements I think the middle of America wants to hear, because there's been this dialogue. It's like, well, Bibi does what he wants, and Trump kind of has to follow it. I like what I'm seeing here, because this is the way we should lead. It's like, hey, dude, knock it off. You're an ally. I'm not here to undermine you. I'm not here to pull the defense from you. We give you all kinds of arms, all kinds of spending and things like this. But look, right here, maybe back off a little bit. And I like the tone that JD had there. That was the kind of tone that I would expect to hear from Rubio, because that sounded kind of like a Secretary of State message, if you know what I mean, Pat, to say it that way. But I like what I'm hearing, and I'm hoping that Israel holds the line on, having a quick trigger finger. Up, we had a missile over here. Up, there was something in the Golan Heights. Up. I'm hoping that Israel holds back that trigger figure that would...
What track record have they shown that they will? That's the problem.
Well,
so to me...
And I'm using hope, and there's a great military general wrote a book called Hope is Not a Method.
Yeah. So to me, I think there is different levels of critics of Israel. Okay? So what's one? One is the critic they can't ever do anything right. And you know who I'm talking about. No matter what they do, it's always, their fault. What does he always say? No Jews, no news, or whatever things you
no Jews, no news. Yeah.
So that's the one category of people that are critics of Israel, right? Then you got the next ones that are more for business. They control media, they control this. So it's more from the business side criticism. It's not necessarily everything's on them, but they have a lot of power, they have a lot of wealth. You know what the last one is? The last one is like people that are not critics. They're like, what are you doing? You're making people that support you, because we understand what role you have, you're making the people that supported you not like you. What are you doing? You're giving these guys credit, and you're not showing a sign of restraint and, an example of an ally of how you're handling yourself. And I think that audience right now, specifically the reasonable audience, I'm not talking about the they can't do anything right audience. I'm not talking about the they control all the money audience. I'm talking about these guys. You're losing these guys. You don't want to lose these guys. What are you doing trying to lose these guys? These are not the people you want to lose. You're here. If you're here and you're not aware that you're here, you're making a double dumb mistake. You're making a double dumb mistake of the argument. And by the way, this is the clip we were talking about. I want to play this clip, and then Adam, I'm going to come to you. Then Vinny, and I'm going to come to you. I want the audience to see the entire thing, even 45 seconds of it, because we only show like 7 seconds of it. Watch this clip with JD, and as a person that I think he's great in debating. I really like Rubio, but I really like the way JD handled themselves in this specific clip. Go ahead.
Now, I saw the Axios report. That Netanyahu is fuming. That's not reflective of the conversations that I've had with him, but maybe he's saying something to somebody else that he's not saying to me. What I will say, and this does bother me, is that you've seen people within Bibi's cabinet who have come out and attacked the deal, and in some ways very personally attacked the President of the United States. And I guess my message to them would be twofold. Number one, Donald J. Trump is the only head of state in the entire world who is sympathetic to the nation of Israel at this moment in time. And he happens to be the head of state of the world's superpower. If I was in the cabinet of the Israeli government, I might not be attacking the only powerful ally that I have anywhere left in the entire world. And the second message I would give to some of those cabinet members, Bibi, to his credit, has not gone down this path, but to some of these cabinet members in Israel who are attacking the President of the United States, the other thing that I would say is that over the last 3 months, 2/3 of the defensive weapons that have protected your homeland have been built by American hands and paid for by American tax dollars. The problem for Israel is not Donald J. Trump. And anybody in Israel who thinks their biggest problem is the president of the United States needs to wake up and smell the reality of the situation that country is in.
You can pause
Thank you
that.
all.
By the way, I really, really like what he just said here. And even to critics, because I think Ted Cruz came out and said something to the point that Don Jr. had to jump in and say, what the hell are you talking about?
Yeah.
Ted Cruz, I don't know what Ted Cruz said. Ted
Oh yeah,
Cruz
Don Jr.
He said he was going to get
lying.
money. He was going to that they were going to get money on day one.
Right, they were going to get money, the $300 billion, or the $300 billion, maybe the 25 to 26 billion, I think is what he was referencing, to freeze money on day one. And then Don's like, what the hell are you talking about? So it's obvious this is becoming a. Listen to JD. What does JD sound like? I think he sounds like a reasonable player.
Yep.
And what he said. Adam, your thoughts on what JD said here?
I mostly agree with JD Vance, but he does have blind spots. What I'll tell you is, of all the things that JD Vance is great at, I would not put foreign policy anywhere near the top of the list, my opinion. So let me just go one by one. I think the Trump administration, specifically President Trump, is the most pro-Israel president we've probably ever seen. So to anybody in Israel criticizing the Trump administration, please have a little gratitude. Because a month ago, he was the best guy in the world. All of a sudden, you're not in this deal. You're maybe having some questions. At the same time, most people need things to be broken down very simple. Israel did this. U.S. did this. Guys, if U.S. did something, if Trump did something, what percentage of the country wouldn't agree? Well, by the stats, 60%. So not to get too inside baseball here, there's an election going on in Israel, just like there's midterms here in November. Bibi's up for re-election in October, and he's actually not favored right now. So he's fighting for his political life. Trump and Bibi, how do you think their relationship
Can you
is?
specifically target what you disagree with what JD said?
Sure.
Are you going through other stories? Be specific with that.
I'll be very specific. Nobody has Israel's back. I think he said something like that. No foreign country actually has Israel's back.
More than U.S.
I think he just
even
said
singular.
He said anybody.
Yes.
Well, that's not true. Modi was just there. India. They have a very strong relationship.
Not like U.S. Modi's not going to give him protection.
It's U.S. and then there's everybody else.
Yeah.
So I'm not even trying to equivocate that. They have a very good relationship with UAE. They're working in unison, in lockstep, dealing with Iran right now.
Everything
Germany
you're saying is because
UK.
of U.S.
I
The
fully
number
agree.
one domino is U.S. If the number one domino leaves, Adam, this is if you and I. Let me tell you what irritates the crap out of me, and I'm not even on the inside, and I'm not even. Some people would say, "Well, you're this, you're that, you're that." All the positions that I get criticized for, I'm very comfortable with it. If I talk to you, and I have your back, and I tell you, back off, I'm doing the deal. I get off the phone. I have confidence that you were going to play as a teammate because I'm backing you up, and you don't. I have to go public with your bullshit.
Sure.
I have to go public with it. What else do you want me to do for you at this point? I'm in the middle. Can you imagine, like right now, imagine you're about to get a job with a company that you've been trying to get, and it's a big job. Let's say they're going to pay you $500,000 year income. Let's just kind of put this number up. And you say, Pat, please don't tweet anything. I'm close of getting this deal. And then I tweet something that hurts your name. And you come, what are you doing, Pat? I'm in the middle of a contract. Not that I want to delay for 2 more weeks. No, I got you, bro. I'm so sorry. Don't worry about it. You go back, and then I say something again. How are you going to react to that? I have a very big problem with this specific area of it's about to get done. There is some progress that's going to be happening, and you keep pushing the agenda and saying, no, I'm going to do what's best for me. So then don't act like we're allies, because we're not allies.
Well, they are allies, and JD Vance
Act
even
like an ally, though.
I hear you. May I
Yeah.
respond? I hear you loud and clear. Have some gratitude. Have some respect. No doubt. JD Vance, the part you didn't hear was when he goes, listen, we are allies, but understand one thing. U.S. is the senior partner. Israel is the junior partner. Cool. Trump doesn't control Bibi, and Bibi certainly doesn't control Trump. That's without a doubt. The challenge that they're going to have, this is my opinion, when Israel was not in the room in the negotiation, Iran recognized one thing. Okay, why is Lebanon and Hezbollah so intertwined in this deal? Is Lebanon part of Iran? Well, in actuality, yes. Hezbollah is not a Iranian cutout. They're literally the Iranian military based in Lebanon. So how's that going to work? So imagine this, and I totally understand, hey, if I say something to a tweet, let me ask you this. Hey, we're trying to do a deal with Mexico, let's say. And I go, hey, how long are we going to let Mexico or
Those
what's
are
the
two
gang?
different. No,
But
isolate.
let me-
Don't
let me-
do that. Don't do
let
that.
me just make
Isolate
my
the
point.
issue. Whatever
I'm making
point
an analogy.
No.
Here's the question. Okay,
Whatever
then let me
point
say
you make,
this.
just isolate
Sure.
the concern.
Then let me say this.
Tell me.
How long are we going to let Hezbollah
Yeah.
shoot missiles into Israel?
No problem. When we're on
How
the
long
phone,
are we gonna do that?
No, don't do that. If I'm on the phone with you,
Yeah.
you and I agree. I'm in the middle of a deal. Sit this one the F out.
Sure.
You say yes.
Yes.
I get off the phone. You attack. What the hell are you doing?
All right, so
so
let me-
don't tell me the two different issues.
but-
These are two different issues that we're talking about.
Would you hear me out?
Yeah.
I'm just going to ask you a question.
Go for it.
Let's say they have an agreement,
Okay.
Trump and Bibi.
Yes.
And they go, listen, do not attack Hezbollah.
Yeah.
Don't do it.
Yeah.
He goes, you got it. And then Bibi goes, but what happens if they shoot missiles at us? What should I do? Don't respond.
You know what I would do?
How many times?
No, that's bullshit.
Will you allow
No.
someone to shoot
Let me
missiles?
let me
So it's
ask you.
perpetual
But-
permission
but let
for
me-
Israel.
Well, it's a fair
to keep
question. And let me
tearing
give you the
ass
answer.
in
Think
Lebanon.
about it from Iran's
Let me give the
perspective. Not
fair-
even.
Sorry.
It's a fair question. I'll
Guys,
give you the
I
answer.
feel like I'm getting ganged up on. I'm trying to make a point. I can't even make a point. Iran has the best excuse and scapegoat ever. We tried to do the deal, guys, but Hezbollah, they're always going to tell Hezbollah to shoot
Can
missiles
I ask
into
you a
Israel.
question here? So let's say that happens. Let's say that happens. If you and I are allies, I'm your biggest ally.
Yeah.
I have your back. They do anything to you, what should be your first phone call?
I'm going to call you.
And you call me and you're going to,
What
let's
should I
role
do?
play. Role play.
Yes.
Go ahead.
Who am I?
You're BB.
I have to be BB.
Yeah, you're BB.
Hey, PBD, how you doing? Hey, Mr. President, thank you
Yes.
for all your help. Yes.
Yes.
How can I help you, sir?
No, you are telling me that Iran or Hezbollah just did something.
Yeah.
So
Okay,
make your
is that-
complaint.
Is that the thing?
Yeah, make
hey,
your complaint.
look, we've had to basically move a couple 100,000 people out of the north of Haifa and the Golan Heights, and because we're getting missiles shot at our people. Luckily, we have the Iron Dome. What should I do when Hezbollah keeps shooting missiles?
How many of these instances is it because they attacked you? How many of these instances are because you attacked them?
Well, they always attack first,
No,
and then we
because
respond.
We do, but you can't always use it in every single situation.
Okay.
If they do, guess what I'm going to say? You have the right to defend yourself.
Okay.
But don't start it. I'm in the middle of a deal. Because I'm calling Hezbollah on the other line. I'm not Hezbollah. I'm going to call Lebanon on the other line. I'm going to call the other guys that I'm talking to on the other line. And I'm going to have conversations with them.
Sure.
But in a situation like this, my deal is with you.
Well,
if you
Trump
call
said
me-
that the Iran deal is the big deal and the Hezbollah thing is the small
if
deal.
You
I agree.
if you call me and we're having a conversation, which I don't think those calls are being made, then it's a different story. Because why would the president get upset and call out Bibi if those
course.
calls are
Well,
not?
they should communicate better. I agree. But who do you think is more reasonable? Bibi or whoever's running Hezbollah right now?
That's
Who's going to
again,
honor?
your
well, of
you're
course it is.
changing- No,
Let me just add.
I'm going to come to you.
The news side of this. Just in the past couple of minutes, an Israeli official said that we are currently in a ceasefire. We remain in the security zone, and if we are attacked, we will respond. We will thwart those threats. To Adam's point, in this particular instance, they lost 4 IDF soldiers, and that was the response that Israel says they made after they were fired on and lost the 40 IDF soldiers. So, to your role play, Bibi would say, we are going to respond. We cannot not respond. And what would Trump say? Let this deal go through first before you respond?
No, to me, let's take, so you guys are talking one with the 4 IDF soldiers being lost. But this has happened now how many times?
Exactly.
4 or
I mean, it
5.
happens, to your point, it happens all the time.
No, in this specific context, let's go to the last 3 weeks.
Yeah.
Not even long, the last 3 weeks. Since the president's been trying to do a deal. How many times when they've been doing that, Israel has responded without any kind of attack to them? A few times.
Right.
Why are you doing it? Now, if you call me, I'm a reasonable leader, and you told me they just killed 4 of my guys, what do? You know what? You got to do what you got to do. Okay, I can't do anything at that point. You got to defend yourself. But to me, it's the cases when nothing happens and you're retaliating because you know deep down inside you don't want this deal to get done. Who in the world doesn't want this deal to get done? FYI, let me be as transparent as possible. You know who's in the most confused situation? This guy. Do you know why? I lived in Iran for 11 years. I know how bad IRGC is. These are the worst of the worst of the worst. I have personal stories what I witnessed. They're not better for the world. They're the worst people to negotiate with. They're the worst people to get a deal with. The 41,000 Iranians that have been killed, and the girl was dancing. She's now being faced to get 70 whiplash. A story came out yesterday. These are very normal things that happen in Iran. It's not like an abnormal thing. Are they getting rid of IRGC? No. Are you negotiating with Ruhollah Khamenei's son? Yes. You don't think he wants to retaliate after you killed his father, his wife, and his mother? You don't think he's going to forget that? Of course he is. You think they're going to keep their end of the bargain? Never. Obama said never. Clinton said never. Every one of the presidents said they don't keep their commitments. Let's set that part aside. I'm not the president. You're not the president. Bibi's not the president. Trump is the president. And it's very hard to become the president. If he feels the right thing to do right now is to get this deal done, because his position is, if I have to choose between solving all the problems in the Middle East or U.S., I'm going to choose America first.
You should.
That's his position.
Of course.
And I respect it. But when it comes down to this case, we all know Israel doesn't want this deal to get done. 81% of Iranian people don't want this deal to get done. I don't even know if a lot of the Gulf states fully want this deal to get done.
Definitely UAE.
Yeah, so you have to kind of think about the motives of everybody. But to me, the back and forth, Vinny, I'll give you the final thoughts and then we'll move on.
Well,
to the
I mean,
story.
you were talking about the story in general. It bothers me that peace teeters on the actions of another country. Period. We are trying to get this thing done. And mind you, this is the same country that the New York Times reported. Remember the article? It was how Trump took us to war with Iran, where they're in the Situation Room and the president was briefed by everybody, including Mossad was on the Zoom. And they were like, hey, listen, this is going to be like Venezuela. We're going to be in, we're going to be out, regime change. We're going to arm the Kurds, the uprising. None of that was real. And everybody in that room was saying it's farcical. It's farcical. So, and what bothers me big time is the people that are pissed off at peace. The Ted Cruz, Lindsey Graham, Mark Levin, Ben Shapiro, and Laura Loomer, they're pissed. Like Mark Levin's attitudes. Put some troops on the ground. Are you going to send your son? Are you going to go? Or Ben Shapiro's? Are these people going to go? We have a chance. And Pat, this is the thing. Remember when I talked about the spoiled son? When you have that spoiled son, they do whatever they do and they keep doing what they're doing. This report just came out right now. Iran declares the Strait of Hormuz closed again after U.S. lifts blockade. And this is what it's saying. It's saying Iran announced it's closing the Strait of Hormuz again. Okay, Tehran says it will keep the strait closed until Israel withdraws from southern Lebanon and U.S. forces leave the Persian Gulf. And it's like, we're almost there. We're almost there, Pat. And every day I turn on the news, I'm waiting to see if another bombing happened. If another bombing.
Yeah,
give it a chance.
That would drive me nuts.
I know it would.
By the
Me
way,
too.
here's what Ben Shapiro, and again, remember, there are 3 different types of critics of Israel. You don't want to lose level 3 because they're not enemies of yours.
You're right.
I don't know how to describe this.
You're right.
It's like, you know, when you root for a team, you're like, I would have never in my entire life rooted for the Knicks ever. But my God, the way Spurs played in the playoffs, you became a Knicks fan. What the hell are you doing playing so shitty when you have such big leads in every one of the games? Never in my life did I think I was going to be a Knicks fan. But here's Ben Shapiro's response. Go for it.
J.D. Vance appears on Megyn Kelly's podcast. Remember, as we'll get to, Megyn Kelly is a person who has said that the Israelis manipulated the administration into war, who has laughed along to the proposition that the Republican Party is a bunch of Israel-loving pedophiles. This is where the vice president chose to retail the argument. So the vice president says that actually the only reason that people would oppose the deal is because they want endless conflict. Well, let's hear what he has to say.
I think that fundamentally, if you look at what they're proposing an endless conflict. They want this to go on until every bomb has been dropped or until every Iranian is dead. That is not what the President of the United States wants. What he said is, I said about this to end their nuclear program, to eliminate their ability to threaten their neighbors and project power, and to fundamentally make sure that no future child would have to deal with a terrorist regime with an atomic bomb. That's why the president set out to do this.
Basically saying the goal, Pat, was
what is Ben's? I just want to know what argument Ben is making here. Is this like a big argument he's making? Let's hear what Ben has to say.
Well, an entire field of straw men is now burning because this is what we colloquially call a lie. This is a lie. An endless conflict would be, say, a 47-year conflict with an intransigent, radical Islamist enemy that wants to destroy America. Some of us have been calling for the president to end this war quickly, like from the beginning. I've been saying for literally months that instead of signing on to a useless ceasefire, that we ought to take or bomb Kharga Island, open the straits with operations like Project Freedom with the president.
Ben's reacting to JD.
I'll just ask one question. I know you want to move on.
Go for it.
Let's say Israel gets the call and says, for the next 60 days, zero response. Zero. You got it. We'll just absorb the missiles. We'll lose some soldiers, but we're going to honor your deal. You got it, sir. Boom. How's that going to play in Israel, by the way, while Bibi's trying to get elected? Disaster. Bibi will not be reelected if that happens. But let's say he does. What are the chances you think Iran is actually a good faith actor and will do what they are going to write in these deals? What are the chances Iran...
Less than 5%.
Okay, so this whole deal hinges on 5% chance that Iran is actually going to comply. I think Iran, can I just give a little brevity here? You ever see that? It's a weird analogy, if I may. You ever see the episode of Seinfeld when he goes to get the car and he goes, yeah, I have the reservation. She goes, yeah, we didn't keep your reservation. He goes, see, the problem with you is you can hold the reservation, right? Oh, you could take the reservation, but you won't hold the reservation. What's my point? Iran will sign an agreement. They're never going to honor the agreement. You just gave 5%. I give it less than that. That's the problem. We're making a deal with the devil, and Trump's trying to do this to get out of the midterms. My suspicion, we're going to be bombing Karg Island or Iran right after midterms and eliminate Iran. That's my opinion. But we'll see what happens.
But guess what? You know what's the great thing about terms? And you put different points in. So when you invest, who is the investor here?
United States.
Who's the buyer? Who's the seller here? Who's the investor? Who's the receiver here?
Iran would be receiving funds.
So who's the investor here?
The world, the U.S.
Okay, so who typically has more control? The investor or the receiver?
With the money, of course.
Who has more control? The investor or the receiver?
The investor.
The investor. Okay, so guess what the investor gets to do with their terms?
Tell me.
Whatever they want.
Yeah, well, that's what JD has been laying
That's
out.
what I'm trying to tell you.
Because they're not going to get any money if they don't behave.
Do you think this is like, yeah, here you go? No.
Oh, I agree.
So then,
because there's a whole wing that thinks we're going to give them $300
By the way,
billion.
a part of this, if you really go play the 40-50 bullshit that people talk about, let's just say we go there.
Mm-hmm.
A part of this is we gave them the deal.
Yeah.
Hey, the world of some of you guys that were non-interventionists, we gave the deal. They still did this. Now what do you want to do?
Exactly.
So we're in charge no matter what because you're putting the money in. So the part about being the investor is you control the terms.
And I fully agree with you. Great analogy. And what did Trump say? He goes, listen, we want peace, but if they don't want peace, we'll bomb the crap out of them again.
But Pat,
that's what's going to happen.
Adam, what happens if that bombing and all that stuff and all these people that are anti-war, what if the next president comes in?
Who's pro-war?
Can I ask you a question?
Who wants war?
Come on. If an AOC or somebody that's not a huge fan of Israel comes in, what happens when there's an anti-Israel president, like all these leftist Democrats comes in? Then what? No, like they don't like Israel.
By the way, that's a valid question.
Yeah,
and that's why what we learned the last 6 years specifically is the most powerful people in D.C. is the Supreme Court. Yep. To me, the founding fathers every day get more and more credit of what these guys built. The fact that they thought about this, and it goes back to Case for America, right? The book. So if you haven't ordered it yet, you may want to go click on a link below, place the order. The fact that they placed that, the way they build it is the biggest insurance policy on how it's built. To me, for as long as I'm alive, if I have to choose, honestly, if I have to choose between and this is a very weird thing to say, if I have a choice between having a Republican president for 20 years straight, but liberals control Supreme Court 6-3, or having a liberal president, but Supreme Court controls 6-3, I take Supreme Court. But conservative control Supreme Court.
Liberal.
I take the Supreme
for
Court.
Sure.
Yeah.
And it's not even close.
I agree.
And it's not even close.
Yeah.
So to me, my insurance policy is, hey, Supreme Court, Supreme Court, Supreme Court. All this other stuff, these founding fathers knew what they were doing. Let's go to the next story. Next story is, what did you guys pull up right there? Is that something that was part of this or no? Okay, let's go to the next story. Next one I want to get into is this report that comes out. Folks, I don't know if you've seen this or read this or not. It is difficult to go through. The stories are horrendous, to say the least. And this is the Rape Gang Inquiry Report that came out. And can you guys tell me what page that was? And then I'm going to read a couple parts of it from the report. If one of you guys tells me what page it is. Oh, there it is. The state enabled them. British MP Rupert Lowe releases horrifying report on migrant rape gangs. And I'll read the executive summary, and I'll read one of the stories. And then, Vinny, I'm going to come to you, and then, Brett, I'll come to you right after that, is this. After Restore Britain leader Rupert Lowe released the Rape Gang Inquiry, which documented the systemic rape and often torture of up to 250,000 young British girls at the hands of predominantly Muslim rape gangs, SpaceX and Tesla founder Elon Musk agreed with calls for Nuremberg-style trials for the perpetrators and those who enabled the heinous act. One post calling for Nuremberg trials in connection to the rape gang inquiry, and then Elon saying yes. The excerpt from the report reads, the incidents of criminal activities listed in the report are drawn from court orders, official and unofficial inquiries across the country, and witness testimony provided to the inquiry. They confirmed that this was never a series of isolated local failures. It was coordinated, nationwide pattern of organized child sexual exploitation that repeated in town after town, city after city, from the far north to the south coast. The same ethnic and religious profile of the perpetrators was documented throughout almost all of the witnesses who contacted the inquiry. The report further states that the scale of the rape gang phenomenon is endemic across the entire of Britain, 250,000 across UK, and the House of Lords of Lord Pearson's of Rancho on May 29th said, do the government accept that if we extrapolate nationally the J report on Rotherham and other reports from Telford to Oxford, there appear to have been upwards of 250,000 young white girls raped in this century, very largely by Muslim men, usually several times a day for years. Okay, just to kind of give you a list of a couple of these things, and then I'm going to come to you, Vinny. The report makes for difficult reading. It found that victims were typically between 8 to 12 years old. 8 to 12 years old. Children were forced to have sex with dogs and beaten with bats, which were then inserted into them anally and vaginally. This is disturbing to even listen to, folks. In one case, a little girl's tongue was nailed to the wall so she could not move while she was being raped by multiple men. It was also found that police were warning, by the way, this is Zero Hedge story, were warning rapists that they were being reported in order to threaten the victim into stopping the reports. In other instances, police participated in the gang rapes themselves. One girl was raped between 30 to 80 men, most of whom were never charged by British authorities. In another case, a little girl was told, if you don't come back, I'm going to rape your little sister instead. When one mother tried to call for help, a British police told her, you should be happy your daughter is experiencing a different culture. He then hung up on her. And last but not least, another girl was blinded by acid while trying to escape one of the rape gangs. This is the report. And by the way, Vinny, do you want to tell us who hasn't talked about this report at all?
Cenk. I'm wondering where Cenk. I'm wondering where Mehdi Hassan, all the people.
No, the other one. What is the big network that hasn't even touched? The most important
BBC.
One. Can you imagine BBC hasn't touched on this yet?
Oh, is this the same BBC that, remember the James, what was his name? The guy that worked for the BBC guy that was taking advantage of all these underage people? James Cavill or Seville or something like that?
There's a name out there, Humberto. Can you guys
I think it's James Seville. Like, this guy was molesting and raping, and nobody says anything. And I'm curious to where all the Cenk and all the Mehdi Hassans, it's because these guys were Pakistani Muslim men. Could we just put that out there? Like 85 to 95% were Pakistani Muslim men, okay? And this UK, you guys caused the problem, and then when the problem got crazy, you guys tried to say we can't report it because it's racist. Okay? Unbelievable, Pat. Like, this is hands down one of the biggest failures, and it drives me crazy. Epstein, and you guys know how I feel about Epstein. It's one of the biggest travesties and disgusting thing that's happened on a global, United States, everywhere level. Where are all the people crying for? Did you really hear what he was just saying? Force them to have sex with animals, nailed their tongues to a wall. Okay, and Pat, the story that you were talking about, the girl's name is Fiona. I don't want to say her last name. Her mother called, and that little percentage that weren't Muslim men, she called and she mentioned they had a history because she was abused by the Pakistani gang. Her mother said, hey, she was abused previously by an Asian men. And they said, and I quote, you can't describe them as Asian men because that's racist. You should be glad your child is being taught a different culture. Let that sink in. Yes, that's in this report. And it gets worse, Adam. The report says a police officer once returned Fiona to the house where the abuse was happening and told the men, have fun with her, unquote. Have fun with her. Okay? On another occasion, police told the abusers that if they could get Fiona to sign herself out of care, they'd stop bothering them. Adam, think about that. This is not only formal action anyone took was a warning, nothing followed. Not one officer has ever faced trial, not one. Not one politician, not one social worker. And then everybody, Brett, everybody on that side goes after Tommy Robinson as if he's crazy. He's not crazy. We're not talking about 10,000, 100,000, 250,000. Think about that number, guys, of these young girls, these children that we're getting advantage of. And again, bro, we're talking about the COVID thing. How is this not the number one thing? And how are Cenk and Mehdi Hasan and all these people dead silent? Dead silent, because you're all hypocrites, all of you.
So if you look at this report, the extent of it, to your point, is massive. If they estimate that 40% of all the local districts in the UK had some incident. That's crazy. If you think about every
40%,
149 local authority districts, 40% of all districts across the United Kingdom. And it goes on to say that the police forces, social services, National Health Service, licensing authorities all failed the victims. So when Elon Musk first got onto this, it coincided with the British Prime Minister being in town, and I had an interview with Keir Starmer at the Blair House. And I had a whole list of questions about the tariffs and the relationship with the U.S., and I went through all that. But I asked him specifically about this charge by Elon Musk, about these rape gangs and how serious it was. And he said, "Oh, I've seen this. You know, we are investigating it. I think it's overblown." I mean, that was the messaging, was that it's
That's Keir Starmer.
Yes, and I'll figure out the soundbite and I'll figure out how to pull it up. But it's amazing if you think about, if this report is anywhere near accurate, that is the Prime Minister reacting to the early indications from Elon Musk on this gang rape.
And it's crazy, not to cut you off, Pat, it's crazy. The rape thing is horrible too, but look at how bad, like the Henry Nowak, the kid that was stabbed by the Sikh guy with the knife and then shows up and goes, "Oh, he's racist." And they handcuffed the kid that stabbed him bleeding out because of racism. This whole racist title to get away with freaking murder and rape, it's absolutely nuts.
And that guy died in the car.
And that guy died in the car, and he was saying, "I'm stabbed." They're like, yeah, no, you're not. No, you're not stabbed. It's so bothering. And then, Pat, you ready for this? UK is banning under 16 years old from being on social media, so they can't spread this type of information. They can't talk about what's happening in their freaking country. And that's a sign of what the UK is about. And they're done.
Yeah,
they're
Tom,
done.
I'm going to come to you. I'm going to read this, and I'll come to you here. In court records and official inquiries, around 87% of those convicted in these groups-based child sexual exploitation (CSE) cases bore distinctly Muslim names. Dr. Taj Hergay, the vast majority of men involved in these gangs, were not convicted. He says an imam with the Oxford Islamic Congregation believes the true proportion of gang members who are Muslims to be 95%. And I'll continue to read this last story here for you. Dr. Hill has emphasized that the verbal abuse she endured was saturated with both racial and religious slurs. While being beaten, she was repeatedly called a white slag, a white whore, a white C-word, and simultaneously condemned as a non-Muslim who deserves punishment for failing to follow Islamic rules. Her abusers, she said, operated according to what she termed grooming gang ideology, under which they believed their crimes were religiously justified. In further detail, she breaks down, "I was told that I must respect their religion. That was the first of many confusing lies that I was forced to believe. I was told that to show them respect, I mustn't eat pork. I was told that Muslim girls are good and pure and stay virgins until marriage, but all white girls are slags and they all sleep with hundreds of people. I was told white girls are trash, all whores. They all are lower than shit under your shoe. They don't obey Allah, so they deserve to be punished. They don't deserve modesty. Muslim women are pure because they cover down to their ankles and down to their wrists, and then hem of their top comes below their knees. White girls show the curves of their body, so they are asking they should be raped as punishment for not obeying Allah." This is in the report. Adam, thoughts?
Makes me more pro-Israel than ever, just reading that, because what are the chances you think these stories are real? What do you think, Vinny?
What do you mean?
What are the chances you think this is happening?
This report, I don't think he'd do it because he'd get defamation of all the people that he's talking about. I think it's accurate. I think it's accurate. And it's not like Adam. It's not like I was just waking up out of nowhere and saying it. These people, Tommy Robinson has been screaming at the top of his lungs forever, and everybody's been going after him for years. And he's telling you they're not assimilating. And like the numbers, words talk, numbers scream. Tom, how much more can it scream in your face and your ears that their culture and that culture does not mixed.
But Vinny, it sounds like you're just being Islamophobic.
No, I'm not. That's an irrational fear.
It sounds like you like.
I'm not. There's not a fear.
They're just trying to show their culture off.
yeah, yeah.
Raping
What are you doing?
hundreds of thousands of women.
No.
He's being sarcastic.
I'm being
That's what he's
sarcastic, Tom. I know
That's
that
what he's
sarcasm
doing.
isn't your thing.
Yeah.
He's being sarcastic,
But the reality is, I believe every single second of this story. And I'm just going to quote the great Matt Walsh. I ended up stumbling across his feedback yesterday because of the Jeremy Boring thing. He says, look, I'm America first all the way, but I got to tell you, I really admire the British Empire, straight up. What they've done for society, what they've done for culture. But it pains me to see the once mighty nation brought to its knees by the barbarian hordes and an army of invaders. It's very sad to see. What a tragic conclusion. And so totally preventable. So when we talk about open borders, when we talk about alliances, when we talk about suicidal empathy, it's so sad to see what's going on in the UK. And my only thing is, this is not going to stop around the world unless we put an end to it.
Tom, your thoughts?
And it starts there, but then it'll end up here in America.
Tom.
Well, I have a couple angles here. Actually, I have one angle. You know, you look at the core of liberalism in the political sphere has evolved to the point where you need to import voters to do two things. One, to further undermine conservatism and its values. You saw the CNN story, not CNN story, but the statistics. 90% of people identified as GOP in this particular survey 20 years ago respected the U.S. 90% of the GOP self-identified do, but you saw the dramatic change on the Democrat side. So they literally come to a point where the ends justifies the means and the importation of voters into a block that they can use. Then you cross over into moral relativism because they do not believe that there is a moral truth in the Judeo-Christian standard. They don't. They believe that your truth is good for you, your truth is good for you. That's moral relativism. And so they end up, you know, it's like they grow the virus and then it spills and then they're stuck with the virus. That's what's happened in Minnesota and that's what's happening in the UK. And it got worse because what happened was it began to accelerate. Do you remember what happened in 2010? What happened in the UK 2010 in election? His name was Lutfer Rahman. I've had this on the tip of my tongue for 10 years. Lutfer Rahman was the first Pakistani, and he'll say, I was born in Bangladesh. It was East Pakistan and now Bangladesh. He was born there. And he brought with him as the first elected mayor in the UK to the enablement of the crimes. And you know how he did it? By putting the shackles on the police. Wait a minute. They have their own laws. They have their own beliefs. They have their own standards. You can't arrest them for this. You can't automatically judge them for this. That's where it started. So you have this thing starting in the 90s, and then it gets worse because as they become elected, they're not assimilating into your laws. They're trying to impugn their laws. And if you don't think that's what you're seeing there, if you don't think that that's what they're trying to do to create that small city-state in the middle of Dallas, then you're not paying attention.
Real quick, I don't know if you saw this video of this.
We played
girl.
this clip a few
Okay,
months
gotcha.
back.
But this is the reason why you've seen the girl wielding the axe against the potential Islamist racists. Play this.
Show the knife. Show the knife. That's it. Don't fucking touch my little sister.
She's defending her sister.
Yeah, and she got in trouble for this, and then they found out the truth.
She's fucking 12 and you just battered me.
Yeah, because they're trying to touch her friend, apparently.
I mean, this is what it's come down to in the UK. School children have to walk around with axes to prevent them from being raped.
But Pat, can I ask you a question though, Pat? Why predominantly 85 to plus Muslim men? What is it? The mentality of
This
like
is what I told Mehdi Hassan.
Yeah.
I don't care. I work. You know, there's a lot of criticism about Scientologists.
Yes.
Right. You know, a lot of criticism.
Of course.
I ran an office in Granada Hills where half the people in my office were all Scientologists. Okay. How do you think my experience was with them?
Great.
Phenomenal.
Yes.
I didn't have a couple of them came from the Q organization, which I don't know if it's called Sea Org organization. There's a name for it. I don't know the exact name for it. these guys would work 100 hours a week without even flinching because that's what they did working for the church for $20 a month or $20 or whatever it was, right? Great experience. Mormons get a lot of criticism. If you watch God Makers, the old documentary 1, part 2, I've seen all of it, right? I've never had a bad experience with Mormons. So all I judge for is where are you from and how do you contribute to society? This is specifically targeted to what country of rape gangs?
Pakistan.
Gang rape. This is Pakistani. So to me, I don't know where you're coming from. I like data. If I run an insurance company and I identify, well, let's just say we're not licensing our guys well enough. I want to target to see what states license the highest percentage, what states take how many days to get somebody licensed, and then I judge that state based on the regulation and which brokers run that office. If you're Pakistani, we're not taking any Pakistanis coming in. But if I run the same report and they're coming from Saudi and let's just say the percentage is super small, let's take a look at that. I want people that are coming that assimilate, that want to contribute to society. We have to look at the data. This isn't about you guys are Islamophobia. No. These are people that have families and kids that want to make sure their kids are protected to go outside. Whatever place you come in from, if you're causing this, shut it down. Don't take another single migrant coming in from that country at all whatsoever because you don't have to. Data reveals everything. And the one thing you notice with people like Keir Starmer, they're frightened of data. Mm-hmm. You have no idea how many times you can't pull up any data. You can't. In America, we can pull up some data. You can't even pull up the data. They don't track the data to pull it. Why are you not tracking the data? What are you hiding? Yeah. Who doesn't want to know the data? So I'm glad this guy did this, and I hope there's more of it. And I'm glad a guy like Elon Musk all the way at the top is pushing even more for it. So let me get to the next story. Next story I want to get into is Fox News reports pro baseball team forfeits Pride Night game after players refuse to wear themed jerseys, organizations say, okay? So there's two stories here, and then I'm going to come to you guys, and let's go through this. A professional baseball team in Pennsylvania will be forfeiting game Thursday that was scheduled to be the team's Pride Night after players refused to wear the LGBTQ-themed jerseys. The team announced the York Revolution and the Atlantic League, the same league in which Trevor Bauer plays, said the decision was not reached lightly. In announcing that forfeit against the Southern Maryland Blue Crabs, the team was not afraid to show its players the bus in a rather scathing statement saying it was deeply troubled and profoundly disappointed by the decision of these few players. To be clear, the action by the players is completely inconsistent with our vision of the most welcoming place in York. The team's statement continued. The jerseys, which would have been worn by the team's 11th annual Pride Night, has rainbow sleeves. The team announced it would be making a $10,000 donation to the Rainbow Rose Center as a small token of our regret for the last-minute change of plans and support for our LGBT representative partners, etc. Despite no game being played, the Revolution will still host a free and fun celebration, recognition, and inclusion on Thursday night. Now, the next story I'll go to, which is kind of together, is this one here. Actually, in Samson Christian War and Bible verses. Yeah, so this is not a Major League Baseball team. Now, a bunch of Major League Baseball guys came out, steered a hornet nest, and it's probably had no idea stepped on when its chief communication officer let the media know the Christian San Francisco Giants pitcher who inscribed Bible verses on their Pride Night caps last week has been warned about their violations. What? Warned about their violations? Is this the clip that explained that, by the way? Humberto, is this the clip you guys got that explains that you guys have here on the screen? Is he explain? Go for it. Play the clip.
Republican U.S. Senator Josh Hawley of Missouri has joined the growing clamor over the San Francisco Giants' Pride Night caps worn during Friday night's game against the Cubs. He has sent a letter to MLB Commissioner Rob Manfred calling out what he calls a pattern of discrimination against Christian ball players. 3 Giants players wrote Bible verses on their Pride Giants caps, including the Giants starting pitcher's cap, which featured Genesis 9:12-16 next to the rainbow Giants emblem. That's a reference to the rainbow being a sign from God of his promise never again to send a worldwide flood. MLB acknowledges warning the players, saying that this violates the uniform policy. They're not allowed to write on their uniforms. And the MLB says this is not a disciplinary action. It has absolutely nothing to do with the content of the messages that they put on their caps.
You can pause it right here. Vinny, your thoughts on this?
Well, I mean, this is why people are completely fed up with this nonsense. If you guys all remember, MLB wants to pretend about this uniform policy. For how many years did they play political billboards for a year? They allowed Black Lives Matter stenciled on the pitching mounds. They approved jersey patches that said Black Lives Matter, or what was the other one? United for Change. They relaxed equipment rules so players could wear political slogans. Nobody cared about the rules then, okay? Nobody was threatened. Nobody got warned. But now 3 Christian players, Pat, and I want to give them credit where credit's due. Landon Raup, JT Brubaker, and Ryan Walker. Good for you guys. Good for you guys. They're putting something on them that's promoting God. And by the way, this is an isolated incident, Pat. Already, they had undercover investigation involving the Washington Nationals where an executive admitted a Catholic player was intentionally left out of a promotional material because of his faith. Okay? The executive was fired. Good for him. But only after the anti-Christian bigotry got exposed. Okay? So if the ideology is approved by the league, they can celebrate it, they can market it, and they can shove it everywhere. If it's Christianity, then it's a problem, okay? And this is my thing. Sports, to me, is a place, Pat, where you can go and disconnect from politics, from culture, from all that nonsense. But these leagues are infected with everything about this activism. So here's the answer. Either everybody gets freedom of expression or nobody does. If pride flags are allowed, Bible verses are allowed. Plain and simple, Tom. I don't like the hypocrisy on both sides.
Brett, where are you at with this?
Yeah, listen, it's a story, and it's a culture story, and it is it affects people. People react to it. The Major League Baseball is saying it was a routine warning and it had nothing to do with the content of the message. However, you know, it seems like the Christian message usually is the focus of some of this, the warnings, and so I think it really does stir up people. And it's something that, as we get closer to elections, actually moves the needle on some of these culture issues.
You know, the only baseball team that didn't do it is the Rangers. When I came to the States, the team I rooted till today, the number 19 is in every one of my emails, okay? In every one of my emails, the number 19 exists. You know why? Juan Gonzalez. I was a diehard Texas Rangers fan. So the Rangers didn't do Pride Night. They did Faith and Family Night, Vinny. The Rangers. Faith and Family Night is what they did.
I love it.
And so they chose to do that. Tom, where are you at with this? I know you're a big baseball guy.
So I look at it like this. You give me a contract to play baseball, that's my uniform. I consent to that. I don't want any political messages on the uniforms. I give you the following exception. A lot of professional sports, I won't dig into the legality of it, they have these monopoly exemptions that are given to them by the federal government. NFL has one they're really worried about. And, okay, well, you're here in the United States, and we honor the 4th of July. We honor Veterans Day. We honor Memorial Day. And professional sports does fatigues and Army, Navy, Air Force themed fatigues or things, and they're very popular. People buy the jersey of their favorite player. You've seen them, Pat. That looks like the gray-blue fatigue of the Navy, and I've got my favorite player on it. I have no trouble with that. I think that's part of America. I think that's part of it. But once you start this, once you go down this path, right? You know, in spring training, they've done green hats for St. Patrick's Day as long as I can remember, if anybody pays attention to Major League Baseball and that. And they all honor Jackie Robinson. But soon as you cross that line there, and you now say, well, this is going to be Pride Night, where do you stop? Where do you stop? And you've got players saying, if I'm asked to get behind something that I inherently disagree with, why can't I just comment? And what these players were just saying, the Christian message was, hey, I think you kind of hijacked the rainbow. And where I come from, rainbow is a promise from God that I'll never do it again. And so I think baseball goes down the same place football ended up. Yeah. With a lot of controversy, and then they gave all the teams latitude to do everything. But I challenge you this. With the green light on DEI rollback 18 months ago, how many companies are rolling back DEI? How many companies have said, well, we don't really need a chief DEI officer. We're just going to make sure that paragraph at the bottom of all of our HR stuff that says we're an equal opportunity employer for any of these things, race, creed, color, origin, orientation, everything, you can come work here. That's it. And so, but now DEI is being pulled back. And I think baseball's foolish to allow this to become a story.
Yeah. Well, it is, Adam.
It is a story. I agree with Vinny. I'm gonna take it up a notch.
Okay.
Okay. Because I think the methodology and what they're thinking is absolutely correct. They're just the way they're going about it, they got to go it differently. You got to lean into the bit.
Okay.
Instead of doing a Bible verse, you got to go, you know what I say, don't go full.
Yes.
You got to go full LGBT.
Yeah. Okay.
You see what the Savannah Bananas are doing these days? Taking baseball by storm. So what I would do, if I was a baseball player, if you go too serious, people are like, oh, he's a white Christian nationalist. By the way, I do agree we need more faith and family in our country, certainly in baseball.
Make your point.
But
I would lean into
the
story
bit.
long. Tell me.
I would dye my hair pink.
Yeah.
I'd wear a rainbow cape. I'd probably put a unicorn hat on right there. I'd wear high heels instead of cleats, and then I'd wear an extra large cup, or maybe I'd just cut it off.
So a
and go
regular
full-
Saturday for you.
Full go LGBT.
Okay.
So that's the way you do this. You have to clown them if they're trying to clown you.
I kind of like that.
I would take a very different angle with this, and here's where I go with this. First of all, let's go through pros and cons. Are there fines if you don't follow the Pride Night rules? No.
No.
There are no fines.
Oh, no.
What benefits do you get? Do you know when I pulled up data, there is no fines, by the way, if you don't wear it. No, MLB doesn't fine teams who don't celebrate Pride Night. So the Rangers didn't get fined. Teams are fining players. Teams are saying, hey, you better not. MLB doesn't have that at the top. So then you go through a couple stats and just look at it and say, well, how big of a fan of MLB is the LGBTQ community? It's the smallest sport they follow. Even though there's bats and
I was going to say, there's bats and balls. I
figured
figured that'd be right up their alley.
There's not much interest there. Okay, so then when you go into other stats and you think about the sports, okay, just think baseball, politically, fans and players, NBA, fans politically lean to the left, mostly progressive. Fans of the NBA are mostly progressive, the most progressive, by the way. Major League Baseball, Republican. Center right is where there are baseball fans. They're on the right. These are fans, not players, fans. NFL, split, 50-50. Democrats and Republicans, both love the NFL. NHL, mostly Republican and conservative. Now, if you go to players, NBA players, where do you think they lean? 70-80% they're going to be on the left, right? Strongly Democratic. NFL players, Democratic leaning, not as much as the NBA. MLB players, mixed. NHL players, mixed. So if you know what the audience is, what are you doing? And players, if you're not going to get fanned, why are you wearing it? If you're not going to get fined, don't wear it. Yeah. Fine me. You know, back in the days, one of the things that made Nike's story the biggest, when Nike went in, they signed Michael Jordan. You know what one of the rules was in the NBA? You cannot have red shoes. Did you know this? You couldn't have red shoes.
In the movie,
so you know what the NBA did? The NBA fined Michael $5,000 per game that he wore red shoes.
Yeah.
Do you know who paid for it? Nike paid for it.
Wow.
You know what ended up happening? One of the biggest stories of all time. Guess who finally adjusted? The NBA adjusted. And they're like, who gives a shit if shoes are red? Today there's pink shoes, purple shoes, green shoes. I don't give a shit. Make your shoes and sell them. That's all I care about. What's the moral of the story? Why don't MLB players do this? I'm not wearing it. I'm not wearing it. I'm just not going to wear it. Fine me. Do you realize what happens if an MLB player says, I'm not going to wear this? Don't even do the cross. Don't even do the scripture. Just wear the regular Giants hat. Wear the regular Dodgers hat. Wear the regular Yankees hat. Let them fine you. If the team finds you, let's find out which teams are fining players for their religious beliefs. Why do I care what you do in your bedroom?
Yeah.
Why do I care who you're attracted to? Why is that such an important discussion? Why should this even be a topic? Who cares if you're gay or straight? Why is it any of my business? It shouldn't be any of my business. Can you imagine celebrating saying, hey, guys, I'm straight? You're like,
yeah.
I don't care if you're
heterosexual
straight.
night?
Yeah. No, heterosexual night.
Hetero
Like,
night.
can you imagine how weird that would be?
Remember the New York Times
to me,
article?
I want to see the player who doesn't wear it and gets fined. I want to see that guy. I want to see the guy that doesn't wear it and gets fined. And the first MLB player that does it, I'll say it right now. I don't know if it's still going on or not. Is it still going on?
By month?
I want the first MLB player that gets fined, I'll pay the fine. I will pay your fine. Contact us. Wear the hat proudly and say, I'm not wearing the Let them suspend you. Contact us. We will recognize you for having the brass to say, I don't care who you sleep with at night because it's none of my business and none of my kids' business, period. Leave it. Let us just play the game. You know what was great about this year's NBA Finals game? Why it got more viewership than all the bullshit LeBron Finals that he would get on? except from the one that they made a comeback, which was a decent one. You know why the NBA's doing okay? Brunson is not talking politics.
Yep.
Wemby's not talking politics. I hope Wemby doesn't because Popovich is in his ear.
Yes, big time.
And Popovich does. If they don't, we just want to see a fight.
That's it.
We just want to see a good game, and it was good. So I hope they go back to that. And I encourage MLB players to be inspired by what Michael and Nike did back in the days when it was a $5,000 fine for wearing red shoes, and eventually nobody adjusted. Whoever has the stronger conviction, the other one adjusts to you. Obviously, the MLB has shown bigger conviction than players. And players are adjusting and saying, I'll wear this at. What are you doing? What are you doing? You have your conviction. You let them change some things like this. This is values and principles. You don't make me change my values and principles. Who the hell are you? Who are you? No. Bullshit. Stand up for what you believe and let them fine you. Let your family and your kids to see, I'm willing to pay the fine because this is more important than the fine. Your kids are going to be like, that's my daddy. That's my mommy. These are the decisions we got to make. So I actually don't like this at all. And I want to see more players go all the way to sharing your convictions. Let them fine you. Let them suspend you. Let them do that to you. This is not acceptable, and I'm not okay with the MLB doing this. This is my opinion. I'm probably going to get in trouble for this, and I'm going to get a phone call. But I don't care. I don't stand with this decision. I want to see strong MLB players wear your team jersey as you're playing the game. All right, so that's that. And by the way, good news with Trevor Bauer. He's throwing a 94.5 mile an hour pitch. Right now, 35. He said 10 years ago the average was 94. Right now the average is 96. So Trevor Bauer has what it takes to get back into the league.
Is he going to make it back to the league?
I think he is. If I'm a betting man on Calci, I'm saying he's coming back. He's coming back. The playoffs. They're going by the end of July. I think somebody needs to pick him up. All right, let's go into the next story. What time we got here? Okay, we got time for stories. Let's go into the Joe Rogan story. So here's Joe Rogan.
Oh.
Joe claims multiple U.S. presidents directly contacted Spotify in an effort to get his show taken down. Here's Joe.
I can't even talk about it, but there was presidents involved and former presidents involved that were contacting Spotify. Oh, wow. Yeah. Oh, yeah, trying to get me removed for vaccine misinformation. Yeah. Wow. And that turned out to be right. All of it, not a single fucking apologize.
Interviewing the dude that invented mRNA.
Oh, yeah.
And the most published doctor in his field.
Not a single apology. Not a single apology from anybody. Not a single retraction. Not a single, mea culpa. Not a single we were wrong. And I lost a lot of sponsors. I lost a lot during those days. Oh, wow. It was interesting. There was a time where it was working.
Wow.
Yeah.
I didn't know there was that much coordination.
Oh, there was a lot of coordination.
So who do you think? We know one of the presidents was Biden. Yeah. That we know. And it's not really Biden, it's Jill, but it's the administration, Kamala. Who else would it be?
Barack Obama.
Okay, so if you got Obama as the other one, that
the
would
former,
possibly do it.
because he did say former, and he wasn't on Spotify until September 1st, 2020.
Yeah. Do you really think GW cares?
Not
I
at all.
don't think he cares for nothing.
No.
Do you think Hillary Clinton cares?
Well, she wasn't a president.
Yeah,
she did care.
Why I think it is tied to her husband.
I don't
but
think Bill cared.
I don't think Bill gives a shit. I think Bill actually would be a great podcast on Joe. If Bill ever did a Joe Rogan podcast, it would be a phenomenal
Bill
podcast.
Would be great.
Yeah, if they did that podcast. So what do you think about this yourself? You're on mainstream. You're Fox. You're on that side. What do you think when you hear a story like this, Bret?
I think it's scary. And it goes back to our first story about Tulsi Gabbard and that information today. And by the way, we're investing, some time in Special Report to go dig into that some more and where it goes and what we talked about at the beginning of the show. But I mean, that's the scary thing, is that if you look back, again, whatever happened to, this is, the entire squelching of all of that information in the early days. And Joe is right. It got to the point where it was, dangerous. They were going to yank him. And it was pressure, real pressure. And yet, years later, it turns out all of the things that he was talking about and the interviews he was doing turn out to be true, where we are looking back at the disease, looking back at COVID. So I think it's scary. I think, we talk about freedom in my book, The Case for America, freedom of speech and how important it is, freedom to pick up and go where you want to go. But when you see this and a government coming down, it has to be a red alert, sirens going up.
Tom.
Well, God bless Daniel Ek And thank God he wasn't in the U.S. where they could get him with tax and other tools.
Yeah.
He was on a hill that they couldn't use any of their weaponized techniques or the, FCC necessarily to. Well, they could use the FCC, but it was more difficult.
Spotify's in Sweden, right, Tom?
Yeah.
So we got
And by the way, you take FCC rules on it. I'll show you 30 seconds how to put a VPN on your phone and then go get what you're not supposed to get. That's how the Chinese do it right now.
Weird.
So I think, thank you, Daniel Ek, for doing this. But the other side of it, what this shows is that the cancel culture was real, and that what the left was willing to do to protect its turf was not to allow debate, but to suppress it. And so the side that calls us, oh, you're this totalitarian regime, yet you're the ones trying to push freedom of speech out the door. You're the one trying to cancel voices. You're the one that wants to pull back on the debate. Really? Who's the dictator now? Who's the king now?
Kings.
And I'm looking, if you've got a report coming on this, Brett, God bless you. I'm looking forward to seeing where that came from. I'm looking forward to seeing where the angles, because we've seen things that we know what the Obama administration is capable of, and we know what Hillary Clinton was capable of, because now the Russian stuff is all public, and we've seen the federal memoranda, and we've seen DNI memorandum on that, Pat, right? So guess what? This is just chapter 2.
But think about this. The Joe Rogan, remember the ivermectin? He was sick. He was taking ivermectin. And
CNN changed the colors.
And they said it was a horse medication and how dairy is endangering the population.
Oh, yeah, the Chris
Now
Cuomo.
it turns out that ivermectin is, that people go, oh, yeah, that's something you could use.
Oh, yeah, you mean the Chris Cuomo's and everybody's saying that I remember the actual segment where he's like, in a world of terror and everything, you know what's worse is your fellow American. He literally said the unvaccinated, the people that aren't vaccinated, we're the terrorists. Like that's basically what he was saying, which is absolutely ridiculous. And the fact that we're assuming, which I would put money on it, that the two presidents were Biden and Obama, that just shows the power of Obama and who was really pulling the strings. Because he was on a podcast, remember when he goes, if there was a way that I could be in a basement with an earpiece and tell them what to do, I would do it. And mind you, this is the same Biden administration that send the feds to Twitter and Facebook to bury stories. Bury the Hunter Biden laptop, which had all the freaking big guy, all the payments and everything, and the COVID stuff. So you mean to tell me you guys were suppressing stories besides the Hunter Biden thing? The effectiveness or the problems with a vaccine that you guys pushed with the deep state guy that was Fauci, that was under President Trump, and that's why, Brett, it drives me crazy when people are like, "Well, the what's it called? Operation Warp Speed happened under Trump." Yeah, you mean a president that was getting told from a Fauci who was in for how many presidents? How many presidents far back did Fauci go? Maybe five presidents. That's the problem. So the fact that they're pushing it and they knew it wasn't safe is, again, going back to the main story of how unbelievable it is, and now we're just supposed to move on and go to the next story.
You do need to give Chris Cuomo some grace. He came out and did an about face on ivermectin, said he was taking ivermectin, and he went back and said that the things that Joe Rogan said were correct. This is like 2 years ago, and he was on this podcast and made comments about that. Now, there are other things that Chris has held the line on his previous positions, but on that one point on ivermectin, you do got to give him grace, because he's one of the few people that turned the other way and said, hey, yes.
I just think it's overdue for Vinny and Chris to have a celebrity fight, and we just we just do it in the gym here and watch that happen.
I'll just add one thing. How many smaller podcasts that we don't know about? I mean, Joe Rogan's on Spotify. How many smaller podcasts just got
a lot of them?
How many people? It backfired. Can we show that picture with Rogan when he literally
YouTube strikes? You're right.
Of course.
All
we show that
strikes.
picture of Rogan when they
no
turned
voice.
we saw Rogan at UFC. He's a stocked, pretty tan guy. Guy looked like he was the Incredible Hulk. I know he's big. They made him green. Yeah, there it is right there. Disgusting. I mean, that's what CNN did to Joe Rogan. Yeah. Unbelievable. So no wonder trust is at an all-time low. But the last thing, if people start taking ivermectin, or if people actually just start getting outside and working out, you know what it messes with? The big pharma money. You see the movie Friday when he goes, hey, you mess with my money, it's like messing with my emotions. You start messing with Pfizer, Moderna, J&J's money, you're going to get a call from the president.
Yeah, so let's go to the next story. Next story I want to get into is the Obama Presidential Library. Is this the one that's $850 million that they came up with? By the way, the names. the people that showed up to this place, I don't know if you saw the list of names of people that showed up, celebrities. Like everybody on the celebrity side, Jill Biden was there, obviously, with her husband, Joe, Clintons, Bushes, Newsom, Pelosi, Trudeau. There's even a clip with Newsom and Trudeau talking about Trump. Merkel. Celebrities included Oprah Winfrey. She's from Chicago. Tom Hanks, Spielberg, George Lucas, Letterman, Stephen Colbert, Conan O'Brien. A lot of people showed up, and the president was being interviewed with he and his wife. And the question was asked, what is the one word for the rest of your life, and what do you guys want to do? And here's what they each had to say. Go for it.
One word to describe your next chapter. One word.
What's her name?
Fun.
Roberts?
Me. Robin.
Robin Roberts.
That's what you call drop the mic.
Divorce him.
You know what? You seem to be great at
Selfishness. Yeah.
It's about me.
Yeah, so that happens. And then while the event is going on, by the way, I saw a picture that said, here's an $850 million library, and then here's an $850 million Trump Tower. It doesn't even, if you look at the buildings, have you seen the pictures of what this place looks like?
Pat, it's the ugliest.
By the way, I'm not even saying this because, I actually enjoy watching Obama's interviews when he would be on Leno and different things. It looks like a prison. It looks like they built a prison. It looks like the place is filled with inmates. Can you show the picture of what this place looks like? It doesn't look like that.
That's the construction.
No, but that looks like a legit prison you're building because Chicago needs quite a few prisons because, the crime is quite high there. Honestly, at first I thought his way of giving back to the city was to build a ridiculous prison. It's like, this is the way I'm going to make it safer.
Ugly.
So, Brett,
like
what are your thoughts on this library here?
But that's not the final product.
It's not the final.
No,
there's a new one. But you're right. I mean, there's a lot of people there in that town, like just around that area, around the library, who have a problem with it as far as how it's been built. They haven't paid. There's criticism they haven't paid all the workers. And there's all kinds of controversy around it itself. But that's the finished product right there.
Ugh,
some people called it the Death Star. Other people, I mean, it is quite something. And you go inside, apparently, and it's obviously an homage to the Obama presidency. But it costs a ton of money. And you think about the difference between President Obama and this effort to get, he has all this money that came in. President Biden doesn't have any of that. He's not going to have a single presidential library as of now.
Yep.
He doesn't have
$4
any.
million is all they've raised. They were planning on building a place that's going to be $200 to $300 million. He's raised $4 million. And is this the clip you were talking about? Where's my granddaughter? Folks, watch this. So the Obama's done. He was getting off the stage. Maybe turn off the music at the beginning, and then you'll see who makes another.
And then turn it on
watch this. Go ahead.
At the end. Yeah, I'm having fun. See, this is fun. At least he's living up to his word. Look at Jill. Look at Jill. Jill's like, oh yeah, let me get off the stage. Yeah, come on, let's go. Let's go. Look at Jill. Jill's gone. Guess who she forgot?
How do you do that?
Guess who she forgot, Pat? The guy that she knows doesn't know what the hell's going on. Look at him. Look at him.
Raise the audio a little bit because you have to hear what he says.
Yeah.
Takes his glasses off.
Yeah. Lost.
Look at my granddaughter.
That's just not a good look.
I feel bad for him. Like, what are they doing?
Well, it's also the anniversary of the G7 when he just started walking.
Yeah, where's my granddaughter? Shame on them.
Thoughts?
Words talk, numbers scream, and I'll tell you who's lost on this. The taxpayers of Chicago. City and county of Chicago were told it'd be about $123 million. This is a real number. It ended up being $200 million because they moved sewer lines, electric lines, and infrastructure and did things with the soil so they'd be appropriate for a structure of that size. Number one. Number three, in an homage to the way bills work in Washington, they announced that it would be a $350 million bill, but ended up being an $850 million bill. I'm being very sarcastic, but that's what it ended up being. The single most expensive presidential library of all time. Then, you know what an endowment is, Vinny? An endowment is a stack of money that maybe a college would have. And the interest, and they have like $100 million endowment. The interest that comes off that every year maybe allows them to pay 4 or 5 prominent professors. And they call those like an endowed chair. So they get the services of somebody who's getting paid. And thanks to this big bucket of money that gives interest every year, now you've got these great professors. And so as the story would go, that tuition wouldn't have to be so high and you still had great professors. So they wanted to have a $450 million endowment, Pat, to pay the annual operating costs and to offset the burden on city services for it. Would you like to know how much is in the endowment account today when they cut the ribbon on the Obama Library?
How much?
0.
Oh, wow.
So they told the Chicago, we only need 125. Whoop, we need 200. And we're going to have a $450 million endowment. The interest will help us pay operating costs and everything else. They currently have nada.
Tom, is that real?
That is 1,000%.
Unbelievable. So who's responsible for that? Does that fall on Obama or does that fall on the people that manage the whole endowment?
He's going to say it's just my name on the library, and it was.
But really, though, I mean, just be fair. Is it on him or?
There's every presidential library has an exploratory committee, just like running for.
Yeah.
They look for a location and they look for a municipality to give them some land because they're going to get the library and things like that. And then they create a committee so that the candidate Obama, the President Obama, isn't actually personally liable or involved. They're going to put his name on it, but it's Friends of Obama Committee. It's DNC. They all come together like that. But there is a library committee that he's involved with, but they keep the president himself kind of at arm's length. He brings his name. He brings all these artifacts of his personal collection and all the things that go in there. And so somewhere there's a committee that did this. And as
it's embarrassing.
Yeah, well, as some of the great, I forget who said this, but it was a management professor who said, to err is human. To really F it up, you need a committee.
Fred, question for you. You were one of the first at Fox to interview Obama in 2009, I think, about the whole healthcare debate that took place. And it's interesting watching that video from, now 17 years ago. What was he like the first time you guys sat down together?
It was amazing. It was only 3 days before the Obamacare vote in the House. So that was the focus, was healthcare.
3 days before. So this is the topic of discussion everywhere.
Everywhere. And so I had about 100 questions, very detailed. I was really ready. We start out and the White House says, I'm going to have 30 minutes in the Blue Room. And we set up the whole thing. The president walks in and he says, okay, Brett, we're going to do this for 20 minutes. And I said, whatever time you can give me, Mr. President, that's great. So I start and I ask the first question and his answer is 4 minutes long. And I ask the second question and it's 3 minutes long. And there is a staff member behind, in my view of the camera, with a clock that's ticking backwards from 20. So I'm seeing the time drain down.
13 left.
At that point, I had to make a decision, whether I was going to challenge him and interrupt. And eventually I did. And some of those questions are about, do you get to keep your doctor? What exactly is happening with all these side deals that you're getting lawmakers to sign off and vote on this? And looking back at that, it was significant. But at the moment, I was criticized left and right by interrupting the president.
No, but I mean, you do it respectfully, and I've seen you do that with other people as well. What was he like off camera?
He was engaging. He was, he was perturbed that I was, interrupting. But after the interview, we did a walk and talk, and he was engaging. He didn't, as president, really bring in even liberal lawmakers to the White House. He was not really into that. He's like the opposite of Bill Clinton and Donald Trump, who really works a room, whether it's left or right. President Obama, he has interesting in dealing with reporters, but he never brought in Capitol Hill up to the White House.
Interesting. How different was he than, because you've sat down with pretty much every president. You've sat down with Bernie Sanders. You've sat down with Clinton. You've sat down with Zelensky, Bibi. The list is long. You've interviewed pretty much everybody. Keir Starmer. How different was he from Bill Clinton?
Different. He wanted to stay at 30,000 feet, and he wanted to control the time. And I wanted to get into specifics. What the difference with Donald Trump, first of all, Donald Trump, you have to get in on the breath when he gives you an opportunity. But eventually he's trying to answer the question that you've asked. Bill Clinton, could not answer a question better than most politicians, because he would say, you're the only one in the room, and he would focus and he would answer the question, but he could do it in a way that didn't give you the substance you were looking for. Barack Obama, I think, liked the filibuster, and so he would take the time and say, that's what I want to control.
Yeah, it's almost a gift that he has, because he uses the He doesn't mind. They tell you, like, you go take these speaking, don't use He's all about the And the is a superpower for him. Because 80 lengthens a 30-second answer to 4 minutes.
Yeah.
He kind of drags it out. How do you prepare when you're moderating debates? What's your method of preparing for them?
I try to get the tightest questions I can, so I'm trying to take politicians off of their talking points. So ideally, I murder board. I'm not a lawyer, but I assume on a deposition, you're trying to think about what the answer is and where you go next. And so that's what I'm trying to do. But the main thing, and my late friend Tim Russert, I used to fly back and forth to New York, sitting next to him, and I said, wow, you have an amazing style on your interviews. And he said, Bret, it's not about the questions. It's about listening to the answers. Don't worry about the list of your questions. Really focus on the answers so that you can redirect. And that's where the news is.
The follow-up.
So from that point on, those conversations with Tim Russert, that's how I focused on it.
Very interesting. Bret, today, who is known as the heavyweight of people that they hired him for debate coach? Who are the best debate coaches today that heavyweights use?
That's a great question. On the left, Ron Klain seems to be the guy that they bring in. And I don't know if he's been successful or not, but he gets called. And on the right, it varies. President Trump used Chris Christie early on. He doesn't have a great relationship now.
Exactly.
Yeah, but I think it varies. Some of the guys are really good at it. Obviously, President Trump is really good at seeing the moment and saying something that takes everything. Like every attention. He has the soundbite in him. Others have that. I think debates are fascinating. I think we could probably do it differently so that we have more interaction between the candidates.
How would you change it?
I would do less of the staged, have more of the interaction. And I think Jim Lehrer did it well. He stepped back and he was, you didn't focus on the moderator. When the moderator becomes the focus, it's the wrong.
Do you think right now in the state of Florida, Byron Donalds, who's the leading candidate, he's at 51%. Second place is James Fishback, he's at 8%. Third place is Jay Collins, who's at 5%, Lieutenant Governor Jay Collins. And there's this point of there's no reason for Byron to debate. And Byron's saying if these guys said 10, 11%, he and DeSantis went into a little bit. DeSantis said there should be a debate. Byron says there's no need to be a debate. Where do you stand with that?
I'm always in favor of debates. I think it's good for the voter. And if he's at 51%, he shouldn't have anything to fear. I understand what Governor DeSantis is saying, just to respect the process. But, President Trump came to that same conclusion, and he didn't engage in primary debates.
But he was already a president. Like, Byron isn't a governor yet.
Exactly.
Right? So it's not like he's already in. There's a different moral authority that Trump had versus Byron. And by the way, Byron, 51%, you're going to be the guy, right? Do you think it hurts him if he doesn't do the debate when it comes? You do.
I do.
In what way?
Just because, why? Listen, if you believe that you're going to be governor of the state of Florida, you can handle these guys. They're at 5%, 4%. Take your moment,
If the advisor, let me play the role of the advisor.
The other guy,
Yeah, so the advisor says, don't do it, Byron. You don't need to do it. They're going to forget about it. There's only 62 days left. There's only 61 days left. Just hang in there. News cycle will move on. It's fine. Let's focus on the general election.
I get it, and it's probably good advice. But, holding the ball for any team, that has a big lead, sometimes is not the way to go. Sometimes you got to keep on the offensive.
Prevent defense.
Yeah, prevent defense.
Preventing you from winning, potentially.
What's the worst thing that could happen if he does it? So let's go to the worst case.
He could have a big mistake. Somebody could really jump on him. That's a soundbite that gets picked up, and maybe it ticks down. But with President Trump's support in Florida, I have a hard time believing that there could be something that cataclysmic that changes his trajectory. That's just me.
If the president is in his ear, and we speculate here, do you think President Trump, if he's given Byron Donalds advice, would say do the debate or don't do the debate?
Don't do the debate.
He would say don't do the debate. You think so?
I do.
Really?
Now, I'm coming from a moderator's point of view, and I'm advocating for debates. And for the voter, I think it's just better. And for the candidate, I think you get better. And you're better in a general election if you're able to spar like that. And, you know, we saw this in Mike Bloomberg. He didn't do any town halls before that first debate that he did, and he got eviscerated by Elizabeth Warren. Remember that?
Mm-hmm. Of course.
We offered him town halls and all kind of like
they don't want to do
it. They didn't want to do it because he just wanted to, and he stepped into that debate and he got killed.
Do you think, like, if the market were to look at whether Byron Donalds is more Team Trump than Team DeSantis, we know he's Team Trump. He's not Team DeSantis. Okay.
Yeah.
Do you think in Florida, not nationwide, in Florida people love DeSantis? I mean, the guy won $1.5 million the first time, 34,000. Second time, $1.5 million. Dade County was just
in Miami.
In Miami, which is like, how important you think it is for Donalds to also have DeSantis's support and his audience?
I think it's significant in Florida. I really do. I think DeSantis carries weight here.
Do you think DeSantis eventually, say Donalds goes with a strategy, and when it comes down to it, do you think DeSantis will be cornered into endorsing Byron Donalds no matter what, even if he doesn't do a debate? Or you think there could be a possibility of DeSantis not endorsing him?
I have a hard time believing that DeSantis is going to not endorse the candidate that Trump endorsed, in part because he wants that relationship. And if you're looking at 2028 and you think he's going to get in, he's going to want at least Trump not to be going after him.
Yeah, that's an interesting take. Adam?
Well, correct me if I'm wrong. I don't think he's going to do the debate, but there's going to be a general debate if he ends up running.
Of course.
So
No
there's
question
going to be a
about it.
debate in the general.
Just not a primary.
Exactly, not a primary. And Trump did the same thing. And there's some case examples here. I think he's looking at the field. There's a little bit of prevent defense, but also he's been almost campaigning for this for almost 2 years. I think he looks at the potential combatants in this debate. This is my opinion. I think he looks at James Fishback as almost like a clown, smart clown. He's like, this guy. I think he looks at Lieutenant Governor Jay Collins as a capable leader who lacks name recognition. And all he would be doing is potentially elevating these guys. He's basically saying, these guys aren't on my level. I'll wait for the general election. That's my opinion.
I get it, and I would probably advise that if I was his advisor
there
too.
You go, Byron.
But from a moderator point of view, I think the more the better, and prepares him for the general election.
Well, speaking of poor debate performances, I'll go back to the Obama-Biden thing because we were talking about that. I don't think Biden is going to have his own library. I think he's getting lost at the Obama library now. He'll probably do the Zoolander approach and basically transform a local middle school library into like the school for kids that can't read good, Obama Library, and that's probably what's going to happen there. But if I was putting together a coalition, I think Obama's a nice guy. Do I think he's a good president? No, I think he's a nice guy. I think Michelle is no bueno. But the talent on the left, the artistry on the left, the singers, the dancers, the performers, they're so much better than what's going on the right. So much better. But let's relegate them to that. Let the leaders lead and let the performers perform. I think Obama pales in comparison to what Bill Clinton is. Bill Clinton, they say, is one of the most like magnanimous, just like you feel like the only person in the room when you're Clinton.
So
you've met Clinton before. You've had experience with him.
I mean, look, going back in this conversation with the debate, in 2023, I don't know when it was, when we had DeSantis on, I didn't like the way he ran against the president. I just didn't like it. I didn't like his answers. I didn't like the way they did their marketing campaign. And when I sat down with DeSantis and we had the conversation, my outcome was, dude, sit this one out. This is not your place. And then afterwards, I don't know what it was, a week or 2 weeks later, he was out after the sit down that we had. Now, I was offended that he didn't receive my gift. That was very offensive to me. I offered a gift and he wasn't happy about it.
Ferragamos.
Bring it to today. If DeSantis runs in 2027, 2028, he's a guy that I would love to see run because the timing's right. And I think America needs to be reminded of what a phenomenal job he did.
And I hope Byron Donalds realizes that the role DeSantis plays is very, very important going into his election that he's going to have as a governor. Because the worst thing you want to do is he goes in, he says, I don't need the debate. Then Republicans sit this one out. Even if you get DeSantis' endorsement, you get Trump's endorsement, and you get a little too cocky. One of the best things that I saw here, when I saw a tweet about Wemby, I'll never forget this tweet about Wemby. This was about a week ago. And it was, people forget, AI only went once, and he had a chance at winning a championship. How many times did Barkley go to the championship, NBA Finals?
I think just once with Phoenix.
Just once. This is Barkley, one of the greatest power forwards of all time, okay? How many times, you know how many lists of superstars, how many times did Reggie
Malone
Miller
went
go?
Twice. Reggie Miller went, I think, once.
Exactly. So Wemby
Jalen Brunson once.
is 22 years old. Now, people say, oh, he'll get back into it again. He probably will.
Probably.
But there may be a no. So as a competitor, you don't ever leave anything to chance, especially something like this. If you don't go, do I worry if I'm a advisor to say, people are going to look at you as you ducked a debate? Do you really want to know that? Like if I'm the left, you know what I'm going to be saying? I'm going to be saying he was so afraid of meeting his own Republicans because he didn't want to have a debate. So, and Byron's a capable guy. We've had him on. You just had him on your show a couple weeks ago. Very good speaker, fearless. He'll go out there. He'll do all this stuff. He was doing some stuff with TPUSA. But I would like to see him do it. I think when he does do it, I think it won't even be none of the other candidates stand a chance with him when he does do it. I think he'll win. Of course, anybody that faces anybody, you're going to have some moments where the other guy's going to get a couple licks in, and they're going to have their own highlights, but that's going to live for 48 hours. News cycle moves on. You're gone. You're going to get the election, general election, and nobody stands a chance when you're there. So now you have everybody saying this guy's got the brass to go face everybody. So I would like to see him do it. Whether he will or not, I don't know. Bret, in regard to the 250-year anniversary celebration that you guys are doing at Fox, tell us about it.
Yeah, we've got a lot of plans, anchors all over the place. We're going to be in Mount Rushmore at the opening of the Teddy Roosevelt Museum in North Dakota.
The opening of Teddy Roosevelt?
Yeah.
Oh, wow.
Isn't that crazy? It's taken that long for a specific, Badlands Museum, really led by former Governor Burgum out there in North Dakota, now Secretary of Interior.
Shout out.
Anyway, it's going to be, there'll be tons of events. And I think that this is really a moment. It's a shame that some people look at the 250th as a Trump thing, and maybe they have not bought in because they think it's an administration thing. And some of the performers pulling out, to your point, has created some chaos. But if you think about it, and this is what I write in the book, it's a shared moment, 250 years since the Declaration of Independence. And shared moments are rare. When you get to an Olympic event, an athlete, a U.S. athlete stands on the top, wins the gold medal, and the flag's going up and the national anthem's playing, and you get a lump in your throat and you start to tear up, and the guy next to you gets a lump in his throat. You don't think about that person's politics or, what you're thinking about politically. It's a shared moment. And I think that is the message of the book, and I think it's a possibility for the 250th.
I love it. I love it. Amazing. And folks, if you're watching this again, I'm asking you to go support and order the book, The Case for America by the great Bret Baier, who I think is the fairest moderator, the best moderator we have in our generation, in my opinion. I keep saying this to anybody I talk to. And Bret, it's been great having you on. Great conversation. Yes,
great conversation.
A lot of fun. Looking forward to the next one. With that being said, for those of you guys that are watching the game tonight, the soccer, I think we're playing Australia today.
I think it's
one of the best clips. One of the best clips to see is how tourists that are here are reacting to America. And I don't know if you've seen these clips. They're funny as hell. Can you play one of these clips?
The Japanese guy back?
It is so flipping hilarious.
French guy's really happy about air conditioning.
Oh, he loves air conditioning.
Go for it. Go ahead.
The internet can't get enough of European tourists like Sean experiencing American culture during this year's World Cup.
Look at us, truck. What is this? Costco.
Feels like a historical
bigger
museum.
than Walmart. I'm way too European for this.
Got a line dance.
Back to Dallas for England game. Quick
pit stop at Bucky's.
Bucky Beaver even knows that it's coming home.
Hold on, yeah. That's so funny.
Burger. What time you
Barbecue for the first time.
There it goes, buddy. Yeah, popping bottles.
And Caesar salad. So good. A steak and that Mexican?
Mexican? Mexican.
Yes.
Yeah.
Neither the Canadian nor the English brain can comprehend this at this moment in time.
Wow. I'm in IHOP and I voted the chicken waffle. I've never seen this before in my life. That's good chicken.
I just had Texas barbecue.
Barbecue.
First time in my life.
Better
than any moment in my life. And I am married. And
I'm going to leave my wife and kids for the barbecue.
Les petits pains au chocolat, les croissants. No, I give my left croissant for a Texas brisket.
This guy's probably an American.
That guy's
He's probably
faking.
trolling people. That guy's faking. He's not real. Do you have the Asian guy that he's talking and he said, do you know which one I'm talking about? That guy went
He's like
viral all over the place. Japanese guy.
They're the Japanese Borat.
Anyway, U.S. Australia. Okay, U.S. Australia. We know Ronaldo didn't score a goal, so a lot of people were like, wait a minute. Mbappe scored 2, Holland scored 2, Messi scored 3. He's the greatest all-time scorer in the World Cup tied.
You have a prediction for the score?
U.S. Australia? Yeah, it's probably going to be a 3-1 score U.S.
I love it.
My prediction is
Wow,
U.S.
that was very just
3-1. Yeah, and by the way, hey, go to vtmerch.com, place your order for the American hats. These are sick hats, as well as Iran. I think we have 2 Iran hats that are left. Represent the shirt with the right flag and go to the games, go to the watch parties, represent your country. With that being said, gang, have a wonderful weekend. Brett, again, thanks for coming down.
Thanks so much.
Thanks to our friends at Fox, and we will do this again next week. God bless everybody. Bye-bye, bye-bye.